much. Like I said, we will start. It is 12:31, 17:31 here on my side in the UK. But again, distinguished guests, friends from near and far, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever this message finds you, welcome. So my name is Louis Majois, and I'm here not just as the president of Global Sustainability Partnerships, but as a fellow soul in this shared pursuit of equity, of healing, and legacy. So to be gathered here today across time zones and languages, lived experiences, is really not something that I take lightly. In a world that often rewards division, you have chosen to connect, and you have chosen connection. In a time of urgency, you have chosen presence, and I thank you for that. For those stepping into this space for the very first time, Global Sustainability Partnerships lives within the fourth pillar of WOCPSCN, the pillar obviously dedicated to global sustainability. At its core, WOCPSCN is rooted in what I refer to as our heart's soul code and passion: gender equity, community development, women's health, and education. But pillars, the way I see it, are not just structural. They're spiritual. They're not headlines. They're hard lines. So, and actually, for those returning, you carry this history with you. You carry the breadth of past summits. You're not just participants. You're actually proof that this movement lives, learns, and leads. So let me be clear, though. The work ahead, of us is really hard, and it must be, because anything worth doing in this moment requires courage. And let me say, we do not build a better world by carrying only the weight, but by carrying one another. So let us lead with discipline. Let us also lead with joy. Let us act urgently.
The meeting is getting recorded.
Yeah, so there is that.
And rests without guilt. Let us speak with truth and hold silence with reverence, because joy is not a luxury of peace. It's a strategy of those who refuse to be broken. So before I begin, I offer my deepest thanks to our speakers, fierce in thought and generous in truth, to our board and executive team, stewards of the mission, to our moderator, Tina Greenbaum, for walking beside us with presence and care, and to each one of you, the pulse, the promise, and the possibility. So this moment right here exists really in gratitude to you. So let us speak not for applause, but for alignment, and let us move always as one. So it's now my honor to pass the floor to the woman whose vision made this path possible, whose leadership reminds us that legacy is not built in noise, but in purpose. WOCPSCN's founder, Miss Loretta Green-Williams.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone, and thank you so very much for being with us. I cannot begin to tell you how honored I am to have everyone, considering where we started 15 years ago with just a dream, just an idea. And we were a group of ladies that said, we can change the world. We were naive in our middle age. Now we're seniors, and we still believe we can change the world, one community at a time. So I thank you for embracing our vision, that gender equity and equality is important in every aspect, in every community, for everyone globally to grow. That is our premise as we work upon our 4 pillars, which are community development, women's health, education, and of course, global sustainability. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to thank Louis for his commitment and dedication. He embraced the vision and ran with it. A special thank you for Tina, because this is her 4th year with us. My girl hangs here. When I say she is on our International Advisory Committee, she is. I call her, Tina, what do you think? And she always comes through. So we want to thank her, and to all of you, especially alumni, because the wonderful thing about the alumni, we have embraced it. We're doing things magnificently together. Example, Lafayette is global partner for our Literacy Global Fest that we're having in August. Geoff is chairperson of our International Sports Opportunity Committee. So the excitement is there, the passion is there, and I'm even more excited as we move forward. And so I know Louis is going to introduce Tina, but I got to just tell you, she is my girl. I just want you to know. That's all you need to know. Y'all know me, so that's all I'm going to say. That's it. That's my girl. All right. So take it away, Louis, and thank you.
So Louis, you're on mute.
The joys, the joys, the joys, the joys of technology. The joys of technology. Yes, no, like I said, in terms of introducing Tina, Tina, please feel free to introduce yourself, actually.
I will. Okay. So as I said, this is my 4th year. You guys asked me back in February, and I had this date on my calendar, and it is one of my most favorite things to do in the world, because as you'll hear me say it over and over again, the beauty of this group is that you actually have solutions to a lot of the problems. And so it's getting these solutions out there and people behind us to support, all the fabulous things that you do. So I was just introduced myself to the group of speakers. I'm a psychotherapist by training, a teacher at heart. I did a TEDx talk a couple years ago, and it was called Befriend Your Inner Enemy. And I do believe that teaching from the inside out, all the things, and you're going to hear these fabulous speakers talk about it, the pieces that drive us, the impulses, the excitement, the fears, they drive everything. And that's really my passion, is to help people understand that there is a mind and a body and that they are connected. And when you work with just one part, you're working with half a deck. And so really, really looking at the wholeness of who we are and helping leaders at the highest level so that they can embrace all of who they are, because they affect everybody else. And so somebody like Loretta and Lou and everybody else on here, you are those leaders who are impacting everybody else. So that's me. That is my passion. And we talked a little bit before about the not, what is that you cannot not do? And what I cannot not do is when I hear a conversation where somebody's a little off and they could use a little help, it's really hard for me not to jump in. I've learned to ask permission. And with that, we are going to start the show. And with our very first speaker, who is an Olympian and brings all that spirit to us of the Olympic, it's the whole peak performance piece, mind, body, spirit, soul, athletics, everything that goes into a great performance. So I'm going to introduce Geoff Thompson. He has a very long resume. I'm not going to read it all because he's going to tell you a little bit more about himself, but he is a distinguished global leader in sport, social impact, and youth development with a career spanning over 40 years. He's a 5-time world karate champion. Geoff has transitioned from an elite athlete to a visionary change maker, serving as a sports administrator, policymaker, and an advocate for social justice through sport. He's the founder and the chair of the Youth Charter, a UK-based international charity and recognized UN NGO. And again, I could just go on for the whole page, but he's going to tell you a little bit more about him. And Geoff, welcome, and let's get started. You're on mute, Geoff. We got to unmute you.
I'm going to unmute.
There we go.
Move from laptop to desktop and desktop to mobile. Firstly, Tina, thank you for the introductions, and to everyone joining us on this virtual global summit. A summit that comes at a very important time when we talk about global sustainability partnerships and defining your legacy. The not-nots are what we're all now, I believe, having to now address in our respective beliefs, values, and purpose. How does that become what I'm hoping to share with you over the next number of minutes, a legacy opportunity for all in the lives of young people and communities through the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals? I had a consideration of slides, but I think I just want to speak to your minds. You have incredible minds. You have autodidactic. You have that cerebral ability to absorb the images, words, and that mind and ability to listen, feel, and hear. Because the emotional intelligence is what I believe we need to provide our young people to equip them for an uncertain world, but a challenging world. I believe sport is a vaccine and an antidote to society's ills, and the treatment comes when we can truly collaborate in a true spirit of what the late Mandela called, and the South Africa struggle in apartheid, Ubuntu. I am because we are. We all have a personal motivation. Mine has been from the streets to the stadiums to the occasional rostrums of winning, being able to understand that it was losing that I learned everything, and winning simply made me arrogant. And thankfully, I had an exceptional community of women predominantly who kept me grounded, who kept me humble, and who kept me understanding that sport in its broadest possible social, cultural, and economic cultural empowerment can truly, as a fundamental human right, improve the life chances of the mental, physical, emotional health and well-being of our young people. When that fundamental human right is denied, I believe it can become a disaffection of mental, physical, emotional, antisocial behavior. And a lot of the communities I've worked with will have seen, if not employed or entrepreneurially, with their gifts and its potential used for themselves, their community, and society as a whole, become antisocially gang-related. And even, I've now come to see, young minds seek to terrorize society. My journey through sport, as I've said, was not about medal winning, but I discovered it, as I've said, as a mental, physical, emotional need. However, as I traveled the world and I became educated by that travel, I discovered that I could contribute or translate the leadership, the teams building, the abilities to understand how we can all be different, but still be collective in our wish to see a just, fair, and tolerant society. When those intolerances present themselves, we come together because it isn't right, and we need to make it right because it's wrong. It was the last 30 years of my life which saw a competitive career go into life transferable ambition, that a young schoolboy lost his life on the streets of Moss Side, Manchester, when Manchester were then bidding for the Olympic Games and Paralympic Games. I went back on the streets with my fellow world champion wife, and I always include her in the 6 gold medals that have been won in our family, because she's the real sustainable, credible, and impactful reminder of all things. And gentlemen, you've not worked out the gender balance of superiority and ability to deliver, then I'm a self-confessed mummy's boy. You're already in deficit and I'm already in currency, and I have a pension plan that should see me survive the ongoing journey of life. But the Youth Charter was born because that was the no-no. We had to do something. My wife challenged me. The streets and the communities challenged me. And at the time, it's worth noting, it was a decade into the centenary of the Olympic movement, but it was also a decade since the LA 1984 Olympics had provided the enthusiasm and the legacy that Peter Ueberroth left in real economic terms in South LA and the Amateur Athletic Foundation. I, during that bidding and hosting period, met Anita de France, again an exceptional IOC member who has served following her bronze medals in the 76 Olympics as the then president and CEO of the Amateur Athletic Foundation. And I took a group of young people to Los Angeles because I wanted them to see what they should not and did not have to become. That inspiration, and inspiration is simply perspiration of hard work, dedicated effort, and the confidence and conviction of that effort, seeing young people first, foremost, and uttermost as our past, present, and future investment and return. The Youth Charter is there for anyone who Googles. The great ability about the interactive age is the information shows that from tragedy, 32 years on, we have looked at the bidding, hosting, and legacy of major games. And what I believe where we have reached now, in that we have an IOC, United Nations Accord, we have for the first time in history a woman IOC president from Africa. So as I say, gentlemen, the shift and geopolitical dial has changed. We have support for development for peace, but is it applicable? Does it apply? UNICEF last week announced that 400 young people in the world are either fleeing from conflict or living in conflict. I believe those figures are higher, because if we go into the so-called developed communities, and I use that very guardedly, we see young people committing unspeakable crimes that affect directly or indirectly themselves and their community. So we've just had the summit in Lausanne, a new IOC president, a woman from the African continent, but we have conflict. How does sport for development bring peace and a vaccine for all that we need to be realizing? Well, for me, I believe the future relies and will be dependent on a youth and community engagement model, a cultural framework that identifies as global benchmarks a number of the sustainable development goals: education, health, gender equality, smart citizen communities, collaboration for partnerships, climate change, skills and training and employability, all providing an ecosystem that I believe the community campus, which again is inspired by spirit, community, generational leadership, social coaches who provide respect, trust, and confidence in our young people, us with them with us, and provide some real sustainable impact. Because as we have finished Paris, we are now looking at the legacy of Paris as with the lead up to LA 2028. But as we approach 2028, there will be a legacy that leads to 2030, where we measure these goals. So for me, it's taking the past into the present to make the future, to see a global call to action. Our community campuses embraced, and they're now ready. It's ready to be amplified, it's ready to be delivered, and it's ready to make a difference. But I'll finish, I think, with the one person who really did inspire the spirit of Ubuntu, and that I am because we are. The late President Mandela used sport and the arts as a vaccine and antidote to avert a race war post-apartheid. I was fortunate enough to benefit and contribute to that effort. And he had always used his boxing discipline that helped him survive the hard regime of Robben Island in order to translate that into the ANC being able to meet on Robben Island and develop a sports commission that would see them plan the freedom of apartheid and that would see the new South Africa. Vision without action is but a dream. Action without vision is merely passing time. Vision with action can change the world. A young life lost 32 years ago is now a global movement. The global call to action is how we, not me, as the late Muhammad Ali would state, how would we bring about hope, opportunity, and change? 3 words: thank you, please, and let us not have to say sorry. But when we do, it will help heal. Peace.
Thank you. Just take it in. Beautifully spoken. My father was a great athlete, and he said, everything that you need to learn in life, you can learn on the ball field. And so I'm with you. I'm excited about what you're doing. And each one of you speakers, I just want to join your movements. So whatever I can do to help, and we've got a whole community here. I think we have a lot of power here. So thank you again, Geoff. That was just beautifully spoken and from your heart. And I got it. I think we got it. Yes. Yes. And if anybody wants to come on actually and join us behind the camera or in front of the camera, that would be really awesome, because looking at each other and looking at each other's faces and seeing your smiles. I know as a speaker, we communicate. And so again, I just invite you, even if it's early in the morning in your bathrobe, come and join us. Okay, so our next speaker, Gabriel Jaeger, right? I'm going to make sure I have everybody's name. She has 18 years of experience in nonprofit and international development. She's the co-founder and the programs director of Global Changemakers, an international network spanning 180 countries that empowers young people. So there's a theme here, right? We get them when they're young, then we have an opportunity to help them. Young people through skill building and project support. Under her leadership, the organization has backed over 500 youth-led development initiatives worldwide. She's the author of By Youth, for Youth, an article featured in the Stanford Social Innovation Review, and has played a key role in Global Changemakers' growth since it became independent in 2014. So welcome, Gabriel. And your talk is called Youth versus Skepticism, Proving the Real-World Impact of Young Changemakers. So the stage is yours. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I just want to make sure that my screen is visible.
Yes, it is.
Wonderful. Okay. So let us start. The subject of this talk is...
Gabrielle, if you want to put it on presenters mode, can you do that? Can you see on your screen to do that? Because we've got your whole... And if not, we'll just take it the way it is.
Okay.
That's your timer.
Is that showing as presenters mode?
Nope. It's okay. Just go ahead.
Okay, I'll just go ahead.
Yep.
So yeah, the subject of the talk is youth versus skepticism. And oftentimes we see that young people are dismissed, thinking that they're too young and unable to make change. And I hope that after this chat, I'll change that view for you. So youth has been a very active part in the architecture of developing the global agenda, the 2030 agenda. They were part of the group that put together all the goals, all the sustainable development goals through different groups. The group called Major Group for Children and Youth were a centerpiece of contributing to the agenda, and they have been an active part of actually implementing the agenda. Here we have images of young people that you will recognize, but I'm going to talk about the young people that I work with. So there's definitely an urgent need for communities globally to actually take on the actions to reach the global agenda. And young people have been very, very active in actually making this happen. So who are the change makers? The young people that we work with are young people from all over the world who are interested in different areas and different actions in order to make our world more fair, more sustainable, more just. Our organization works with young people from all over the world who are taking these actions in different areas, whether it's women's empowerment, whether it's economic development, whether it's the environment. The way we work with the young people is to select them through different programs that we have. We have a Changemaker School, which is an online school where the teachers, if you may, are young people who themselves are taking action to make this world better and are teaching other young people in perhaps less fortunate communities to actually learn how to do these projects, learn how to be active in their communities. We have a grants program through which young people can submit their ideas in order to make these projects possible. So whether it's an initiative to enhance economic development, whether it's an initiative to call young people to vote, whether it's an initiative to counter corruption. We also do have summits where we select young people from all over the world to present what it is that they're doing in order to attend to our summits and be trained to be more effective. We have webinars and toolkits that allow people online to be a little bit more involved in their communities. A GCMX program, which basically allows people, young people, to submit their ideas and use our methodology to do these trainings in their own communities. And we have a wonderful podcast that I invite you to listen to feature the stories of these young people. So a little bit of the impact of the organization at a glance. We have young people from more than 180 countries participating in our organization. We have supported more than 530 youth-led initiatives in different areas. The online school that I mentioned a few minutes ago has right now more than 7,000 students from different countries. And the global impact of the projects that we have supported is now reaching over 16 million people who have beneficiated from these initiatives. So when we talk about real impact and we talk about these projects that we have supported, I wanted to bring on actual stories of some of the projects that we've supported. So up here in the global north, we have supported an initiative in Washington that is encouraging young people to be civically active, to register to vote, and to be active agents of change in their communities. Down here in El Salvador, we supported a project from a young woman who is teaching mostly women, young women in orphanages, to build robots with a little box here. I don't know if you can see it, but it's called STEM in a Box, which is basically a kit that teaches young women to build small robots and therefore encourages them to be interested in STEM careers. Up here in Europe, for example, we supported a program from a young man who, through ambassadors of young people that have had challenging situations in mental health, to become ambassadors, to raise awareness about the importance of having proper mental health for young people. Down here, one of my favorite projects, led by a young man in Malawi, who is the first person in his family to attain higher education as an engineer, and who, with a group of peers, put together solar panel installations in a remote village in Malawi, bringing electricity to a school that for many decades had no access to electricity. Up here in Bangladesh, we supported an initiative from a young woman who unfortunately lost her mother to cholera, who is now raising awareness of the importance of hand washing, preventing very deadly but very preventable diseases. And down here, we have a young man in Papua New Guinea who lives in a small island that, due to the rising waters of the ocean, had contamination of the drinkable water through this salinization of the seas. And with a project that we supported, built a dam in order to prevent this salt water contaminating drinkable water. These are all initiatives that were led by young people who with a group of young enthusiasts, put together real actions that are bringing real change to communities. So this is the reason why I'm so passionate, and I have been, involved in supporting young people's initiatives, because I know that given the tools and given the resources, young people are incredibly active and incredibly effective to make real change in their communities. So here's my call for everyone to support young people, whether, even if you're not involved in youth groups or youth initiatives. Every professional has the power of giving young people the opportunity to actually do what they're best at, and empower them in order to foster their participation and recognize the potential that they have, building bridges between generations. And right now, I would like to conclude this short presentation to ask you to get inspired and to listen to these incredible stories. A wonderful way to do it is to follow our website, our social media, to see all the impact that these young people are having. And if you have a little space to get inspired, I invite you to listen to our podcast that has now 6 seasons. We will release the 7th season in August, commemorating International Youth Day. And in this podcast, we basically follow the stories of some of these incredible young people who perhaps have had a very difficult journey, but have been able to use that as inspiration to make change. And with this, my time is up. I would very much love to hear your thoughts about that, but just seriously, just concluding with the fact that working with young people and supporting young people is the best investment that we can do for our world. Thank you so very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Gabriela. Are we inspired? Yes. Yes. So we hear so many things, awful things about in the news. We don't hear all this really good stuff that's going on under. I have a podcast also. It's called Under the Hood. Right? And so all the things that are going on, and my podcast is about patterns that are created in childhood impact us as grownups. And so as all of you fabulous people are helping to create change, as these kids are growing up, you are incredibly, incredibly important to their future and to our future as a world. So I'm also going to invite you, Gabrielle, to put the name of your podcast in the chat. Geoff, the same thing. Anything that you want to share with us, put them in the chat. We'll make sure that we get this information out afterwards, but nothing is like in the moment. So put it in, grab these links, and let's support each other. Thank you again, Gabriela, for your fabulous work. Much, much, much appreciated. And now we go again to Washington, D.C., I do believe, to Adriana Pianesi. Did I pronounce it right, Adriana? Come on live. And we welcome you. And in the meantime, as Adriana is coming on, I'm going to read a little bit about his background. He is a renowned change management expert with over 20 years of experience driving success within the Fortune 500 companies. And again, everything comes from the top. You're working with these companies. They need a lot of help as well. So as a former marketing director, he understands the challenges that managers face firsthand. He has coached hundreds of leaders to uncover their potential and achieve breakthrough results. His proven strategies have been featured in the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, and CNN. As a faculty member at Johns Hopkins Carey Business School and a sought-after TED speaker, Adriano brings a unique blend of academic rigor and real-world experience to his coaching. And he's going to talk to us about Everyone Leads, redefining leadership as empowerment, not control. So welcome, Adriana. So happy to have you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I am really honored to be here. You know, I normally am in kind incorporation. This is a beautiful opportunity to share with people that care about a much larger perspective than just the bottom line. But a lot of the lesson that I would like to share here comes from my work in this terrain for the last 20 years. And I don't need to share with you and to let you know that there are a lot of challenges around us. You know, I was born in Italy, in Rome. I'm an immigrant to the United States. Leadership is not a word that I grew up with. But when I asked my children when they were young, what does it mean? They said, oh, is somebody important that doing important things? Mm-hmm. And it was great because I think it's kind of one of those notions that we hear so all the time. And we know that there is an inherent positive value. Yet we don't often stop and say, what is actually leadership? You know, and I want to propose today a 180-degree change in the way you think about this concept. In fact, I want to challenge you to think that everything that you know about leadership is wrong. Everything that you know about leadership is actually based on an idea of the white man on a horse. That is actually the model that we have been sold for so many years. It's an individual capacity, it's a skill, it's a position. What I'm about to share with you is about to go counter to 95% of what you have heard about leadership in many different contexts. And the first thing that I want to challenge you with is to stop this stupid and absurd adoration for leaders. For the boss, for the person at the top, for the people at the top of the hierarchy. This kind of pornography of hierarchical, like leadership is something for CEO and just for the anointed few that normally are white and they have a lot of money. This is not the kind of leadership I'm talking to you today. I'm talking about another kind, the kind in which you roll up your sleeve and solve real problems. So the first thing I want to say about leadership is that leadership is about dealing with the tough challenges that are around us. Leadership is not about position. Is not about position. Leadership is not meant for the few. Leadership is something different. Leadership is, and also a normal confusion, is the idea of confusing leadership with authority. With the boss, we often say that the leadership is not exercising any leadership, you know, in organizations. And I think that this is unfortunately a very lived experience these days. So the point is, leadership is not charisma. Leadership is not being the boss, is not being visionary. All this garbage that we hear about having power or having a servant heart those are important things, and they may involve, leadership could involve those things, but it's not literally those things. Leadership is something different. Leadership, exercising leadership, doing it is more important than being a leader. So here is another point I want to make. This is not about being somebody. This is about doing something. What is it that you are doing? What is it that you're practicing? And if that is about doing, we can exercise leadership with authority or without authority. And this is a critical distinction. And this distinction leads us to the idea that many people in important positions never exercise leadership. I am not with this telling you that being in authority is a bad thing. When I talk about this, people think that I am saying that people in authority necessarily don't exercise leadership. The opposite. I'm actually providing you some compassion, because people in leadership, in position of authority, they don't exercise leadership for fear of losing their position of authority. So there is an actual objective reason why people in position of authority don't exercise leadership. So this is not just a rant against authority. It's the opposite. Authority is very important and necessary for the world. But there is a difference between exercise leadership with authority and exercising it without authority. They're two very different things. Now, another thing that I want to point out that I think is very, very important, and this is something that I notice every day. Most of us don't lead. Most of us fulfill the expectations of people around us for fear of losing whatever we had, for fear of putting ourselves out there, for fear of actually saying the wrong thing, of doing the bad impression. But the truth is, again and again, when you go in a meeting and the meeting goes too long and we don't say anything, when we are in a family situation where an elder parent should stop driving, but nobody's talking about it, or where you are in a position in which you have to manage an organization and the organization is not innovating, but has the word innovation in every brochure and every format or email. Exercising leadership, it's about doing something about it. So leadership is an activity, is not word, is not a servant heart, is not vision. It's a much more concrete things to do, is what you're doing when you're moving hard. A funny distinction, a funny description of what leadership is that I learned at Harvard with my mentor, Ron Eifetz. Leadership is about disrupting people at a rate that they can take with a purpose. I repeat this, and I'm going to write it down in the chat so that you guys can have this. Disrupting people at a rate that they can take for a purpose. Wow, isn't this a different kind of idea of leadership, of what you are expecting a professor to share with you? So, disrupting people, and I am writing it in the chat, disrupting people at a rate that they can take for a purpose. This is a weird definition, isn't it? Now think about it. When you're disrupting people for a purpose, you're growing their ability to do more, to do different things. And that's what we're talking about. And just again, I want to point out one more time, it is not leadership if it's not about solving our toughest challenge. It's not leadership if it's not about solving our toughest challenge. I don't have much more to say, but what I want to point out here is that those 10 principles that I just shared, they created an entire different perspective about how to exercise leadership. This is a 10-point manifesto that I think fits perfectly with the mission that this group is doing and is really a perspective that can provide you maybe more opportunity to exercise leadership, because that's ultimately our purpose. We are not here to become leadership expert or researcher like me. Don't worry, you don't need to do that. What you need to do is to exercise leadership more often and to have idea about leadership that puts you in that position. I would be honored to answer any question through the chat, through anyone here. But, you know, I gave you my definition of leadership, disrupting people at a rate that they can take for a purpose.
Okay, Adriana. So we have a couple minutes. And if somebody has a question, put it in the chat and I'll read it. But you bring so many fabulous points up. I always say that leadership is, you have about as much room as a crease on a pair of pants. Everybody wants to be the leader and everybody wants to kill the leader off. So it takes a tremendous amount of courage to challenge people the way you described. Correct? And
yes,
it's also...
Yes, absolutely. But I would disagree that leadership is courage, because, I mean, it's true, courage may be helpful, but there are situations where, you know, because the risk otherwise is to continue this heroic model of, you know, having to do, sometimes we exercise leadership just doing our job the right way, and continuing to actually doing it. And just that doing it doesn't necessarily take courage. But yes, I would say that courage is an important element.
Yes. It's just because you mentioned all the risks, right, that come up if you don't, you know. And so to stand for what you believe and to also know people well enough to how you can push them to that level that you're talking about.
That's right. Organizational assessment and team assessment and diagnostic is absolutely essential in this work. Absolutely.
Right. So I'll add one more piece from my background. Okay. So change happens with that edge of discomfort.
That's right.
If we ask too much, then people will, get overloaded. And if you don't ask anything, they won't grow. So,
well, Ron Eifetz, the guy I learned leadership from, was also a psychologist. So I can see, that very much we speak the same language. That's exciting. He called it the productive zone of disequilibrium. And so it's really what you're describing here.
Right. We can only go as far as our nervous system will allow. Okay. Does anybody have a question for Adriana before we move on? Any comments? I'm going to be asking for more later. So anybody want to jump on for a second? I sort of heard a yes in the background somewhere. But anyway, think about what Adriana said, and we will come back and have a lot more time to converse, which is really kind of where a lot of the juice is from this conversation. Okay, so next, our wonderful friend Larissa Mills is not able to be with us, but she did leave a video. And going along with all the things that we've been talking about in terms of the mental game, things that I'm going to read her bio, but she's a mental skills coach and a program coordinator for Teen Canada, the founder of iParentGen.com and digital and mental wellness educator for athletes. Her experience stems from her background as an educational behavioral consultant, a behavioral specialist, and a policy writer. Her research, and this is really kind of the heart of a lot of what she does, on cell phones and addiction, revealed significant behavioral changes occurring in sports and education. To address this, Larissa has created a hybrid school that teaches mental skills to help athletes become unstoppable. The Mental Game Academy, open to all skills. And her thing is about phone reduction, one of the keys to sustainable sports. So we're going to listen for a few minutes to Larissa's talk on her video. Louis, you got it?
I do.
Okay.
All right. Hello there, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I'm absolutely honored to be speaking on top of this important, vital topic of sustainability. And global sustainability is a vital issue to discuss right now. It doesn't matter where you look. It doesn't matter if you look at education, if you look in hospitals, corporations, schools, sports, we have a behavioral issue, right? So thank you, Tina, and thank you, Loretta and WOCPSCN. It's been great. I would like to get a few things sort of clear today from this topic, and we're going to go through things really, really quickly. We're here to talk about the sustainability in sports. What does that look like? What's wrong? Well, when coaches are leaving, when athletes are quitting, and parents are complaining, that system is not sustainable, right? So how do we make it sustainable? We have to look at the problems first. Those are the problems. We know the problems. Now we need leadership to connect with us, right? Because we have the solutions to fix that. And it actually is working quite well. So I'm going to take you through a few of the statistics, a few of our interesting possibilities of solutions, because it can change the ecosystem. We need it to change. Behavior is negatively impacting the athlete and coaching ecosystem, and we need it to thrive, right? We absolutely need the system to thrive. It is a system that is important as education, as important as our healthcare system. So Where does a lot of these issues arise from since 2007? It's been the phones. And I'm not saying it's all the phones. Medically speaking, it's actually lack of communication from parents and between child and parent. So the time spent on a phone as a parent and the time spent on phone as an athlete were separate, and nobody's talking. And this is creating dysregulation and cognitive issues. It's creating performance anxiety, overthinking, depression, alienation, loneliness. If we give a kid a phone, they'll just be on the phone, unless a parent is really managing that phone in the household. And this is where we come in terms of education for your children. So if you have 16-year-olds in the house, they've been on phones now for 29,000 hours. This means that your child, more likely, not all, has gaps in their mental, physical, emotional, academic development. And we see this upon assessments when we have work with teams or associations. So this is really vital. How do we work with this? Why am I concerned? Refs are quitting. Refs are quitting because they're saying it's behavior from parents and athletes themselves. And as of the soccer game I was at last night for my own child, I can see why I wouldn't want to be a ref, because even some of the parents on our team, which I don't condone, were screaming at the ref for no reason. No reason, really. Just silly things that were part of the game. When 70% of 13-year-olds are quitting, and 16-year-olds, we see 33% are quitting, and we see 31% of kids not signing up for sports. This is the crux of our problem. The sports system is not sustainable, okay? So we're not seeing those numbers, especially with refs quitting and coaches are quitting, 27% a year. But when athletes are coming up the ranks, and these little Gen Alphas that are going to be the most difficult children ever to be in school, they are going to be more violent. They are going to be less communicative. They're going to be silent. They won't be able to listen because kids are more auditory today, right? So we have to adapt to this new brain, which means we've got to equip, right? That's all we really need to do. It's quite simple, right? So when we look at what teachers and coaches are saying, they're saying, well, my athletes and my students, they're not critically thinking. They can't problem solve. There's no coping mechanisms. They have no resilience. They can't handle feedback. We know that. So what are you doing to fix that? What are you doing in your schools to fix that? Because the parents aren't going to do this at home, right? Some parents want to. Some parents will. But most parents just don't know how to. So we work with parents too, in schools and in sports associations. We can absolutely fix these problems because overall, I'll show you in a slide in a second, social media changes the confidence in a child's brain. It changes the pattern of touching a phone, which is addiction. So it does two things: addiction with brain chemistry, behavior, changing habits, right? And how they speak and their moods. And then it does attention neurological issues, which is the short video watching, okay? It actually shrinks the hippocampus. Studies done in McGill in the US by Dr. John Hutton and Dr. Linda Spigliano, amazing. You should look them up. All of our information today is from the American, British, Canadian, Australian pediatric associations. Just if you're wondering, most of the statistics are at the bottom or at the end, wherever they're referenced, just for your knowledge. But the more we scroll, the more our brains are taking a toll. If you are checking your phone 176 times a day, what you're doing is the vagus nerve is actually sending a little message to the brainstem and ticking it off and zapping it. And the brain's going, can you stop? Can you stop? And the body doesn't know what to do. And kids who are younger, they don't know what to do because they don't have these skills. They don't have the coping mechanisms because they've just been on a phone watching it. So we need to change. Australia's already way ahead of us in Canada. So I applaud you, Australia, for shutting down the social media before 16. I think they've done it, which is absolutely fantastic. Because kids are not knowing who they are anymore. They're being told who they should be through social media. And that's a very dangerous thing, right? In and of itself, to the undeveloped brain, which the frontal lobe does not develop until even into the 20s, right? Now, here's some medical statistics I'll briefly share. The one I want to share on the bottom right really scares a lot of doctors, okay? So we work with some family physicians, emergency physicians, psychiatrists, neurologists, and this number scares them. 1 in 6 kids today are medicated for anxiety or depression. But when we take the phones away from these kids, in part of our study here in our research with our 2,300 kids, they're already better. Mood improves, energy goes, socialization, right? Because if we just want to cling to this phone, the phone gives us the virtual world, but it's not giving us the real world where we need and make impact, right? 100 years ago, we didn't have the medication, right? But even 25 years ago, out of 100 children, only 3 were medicated for epilepsy, types of type 1 diabetes, or types of different types of cardiac issues, right? So you can see how far we've come, and the statistics are grim. It is only going to get worse until we actually remove phones and teach kids how to balance phones. The more kids are on tech in the car, at home, all connected, what we're doing is brain burnout, and what we're doing is holding them back from learning anything mentally oriented or psychological in their processing, right? When we look at what's declining, the participation in athletes and in coaches, we have to look at what can we do to equip them. And coaches are a big part of this ecosystem here. They're vital, absolutely vital. But if only 50% of coaches are undergoing some type of sport training, they're not prepared. If 1 in 3 coaches are not given background checks or don't sign a code of conduct, that's suspicious and not helpful. Only 58% of coaches are required to complete a training before they begin coaching. Today, all the preparation and all the coach training should be focused on is behavior. Everyone figures out X's and O's, and it can be done, but mandatory training should be made for your baseball, soccer, hockey, or volleyball associations. It will pay off in dividends because we want your athletes to be grown and flown. So that means in your association or your league, the majority of your athletes that started at U10, at U16 are still there. That's the sign of a successful culture that is really effectively disciplining their athletes, raising their standards of behavior, and I'm going to get into that on this slide. So if we don't change our focus, and here's something I'll just put out there. If we expect more, we'll get more from coaches, athletes, and parents. If we expect less, we will get much less, and we'll keep shutting down. When we raise standards at associations, and that's what we do, we go in and consult and work with them, and then we help them to abide by coaching alignment. Parents come to the point where they understand, like, if your child misbehaves, they're going to be benched. If your child misbehaves, there's going to be consequence. If you misbehave, there's going to be consequence, because not having consequences to the undeveloped brain or to parents allows continued behavior to continue, right? And or behavior to get worse. So this isn't working for us, right? And everyone's afraid of the D word and the C word in sports, which is discipline and consequences. But actually, in psychology, for kids, in order to build resilience, they need to be told no. They're lessons to be learned. They're not abuse. They're lessons. And their brain needs to learn this to have instinctual life skills to protect themselves when they're older. So let's look at this graph here. Associations have declining coaches and board members. You need your association to be the most impactful and have the most impactful, energetic people on your board that want to try new things. Sticking to the way things are is only going to continually shut down the sport ecosystem. It's not working. Coaches, the decline in coaching numbers is a concern. So what do? We need to, as soon as we go in there and we equip coaches with cognitive behavioral strategies, mental skills, confidence boosting techniques for athletes, amazing. All of a sudden they're connecting with the athletes. They know how to connect with their own children a little bit better, or their mental game has improved themselves. Because remember, coaches are getting younger and they've been on phones 46,000 hours by 40. That's not helping either, because we all need socialization and our brain, our regulation, and our emotional control. Athletes that are quitting, that's a concern. They're quitting because the number one reason, I'm afraid to make mistakes, or I have an abusive coach, or it's too hard, right? We are making everything so easy for them in school that they don't have any challenges anymore. So when they have one challenge, they just quit. This is the quitting generation. And that's not something that we need to have as a sustainable quality in our global world right now. We need fighters. We need people who stick, right? And it's not hard to do, not hard to help with. The parent complaints are climbing, and that's an easy one to help with. Soon as we go in and teach parents a couple of webinars about how to equip with mental skills, so effective self-talk at home, productive talk, and how to stop negative talk, all of a sudden, we reduce the phone time and you have a different house. You have a different view, and it just becomes more joyous. And all of a sudden, you'll notice your whole household is not as revved up or edgy. I have 3 kids, 21, 18, and 14, and none of our kids have had a phone before grade 9. No data or anything. Even data, the other one still doesn't have data, I think, but the other ones are older. I've checked their phones for 10 years, right? Or however long it's been since, because I want to know what's going on. And I want to know as a parent, the worst behavior you'll see in your child is online, because you're going to catch all the behavior in person. So you have to be present, right? And that's part of this new parenting generation. We have to equip and teach them how to be effective communicators now, because they're quieter. They're more silent and violent, both boys and girls, from phone time and increased phone time. And I think the show Adolescence is just the tip of the iceberg from what we see. That is the norm of what we're seeing. The declining number of refs with no replacements is also another unsustainable fact that we don't have in our ecosystem. So why are sports not sustainable? Well, let's go over a few of these reasons and break it down. Athletes are quitting at 14. Why? Extended phone use. They never hear the word no. They can't adjust their brain to adversity. They don't have the tools. They mentally are not prepared. They need to have coping mechanisms. Parenting styles have changed to become helicopter and bulldozer, or, as what I call it, phone neglect. We have parent neglect. Phone neglect is still a form of abuse. You're never there. You're never really connecting. This actually is starting to harm a generation of children. Number 5 is the cost of sports has risen. That's another reason why kids are quitting sports too, but more at the higher levels from what our data shows and sees. Number 6 is kids aren't getting socialization, so they're not getting communication. What worries me is when we go to socialization or social media, our brains always go to negative and wire negative. And then we start feeling like we have confidence issues, we're not good enough. And this is hard, because even if we give them the tools that go back on social media, and then their confidence balloon shrinks. Well, we're trying to make it bigger, right? This is a problem and the crux of our younger generation under 18 right now, right? Socialization is one of the keys, and play is a big part of that, and kids aren't playing enough. They're at home for 6 hours a day, gaming, Fortnite, then they call it tech hopping. One form of tech after another, and it is absolutely burning our nervous systems out. We're not designed to sit and be on tech. Our brains biologically are designed to walk, talk, hunt, prepare, socialize, right? The other reason, number 7, coaches have less interpersonal skills, right? They've been on their phones for an exorbitant amount of hours. They're losing their social skills. So we have two generations with no skills, and here's where the clashing begins. And parents, at a certain point, athletes do need more development, and sometimes the athlete's not willing to do it. They're quitting. Now, let's just look at this brief, stat here on this slide. 1 in about 1 million kids go pro. 1 in 500,000 or 400,000 make it to the NCAA. Only about 5.8 years of a child's life, of those 1 in 1 million, actually go pro. So the majority of kids between 12 and 19 are in amateur sports, right? Just based off this model, every year this is going to get smaller. That's going to be, instead of 13 million, next year it's going to be 33% less. So what do we do? Well, I'm happy to say, everybody, that we have a 3-prong approach using cognitive behavioral strategies. My background is in cognitive science, neuroscience, psychology, and I did a master's of science of how the brain learns. How do some athletes learn better than others? How do some students learn better than others? It's all about how they process. And right now, dopamine makes us dopey, and dopamine is slowing down that brain processing, right? Our research says that children who come here and want to be faster, stronger, and smarter, they only can when it's less than 2 hours a day of being on a phone. What does that 2 hours look like? Definitely a 1 hour of social media, or less a day, or no social media. I have athletes now that are just absolutely going to those dumb phones where it's just text and talk, right? Which is great. We use a 3-prong approach. So we have programs for your ecosystem for coaches, athletes, and parents, so that your whole ecosystem can thrive. It's got to be all three. Leadership has got to buy in. And when they see that actually behavioral issues drop right off with this, you will see a change in 8 weeks. So we have a sport ecosystem refresh program that actually helps us. This is the 3-prong solution. If we go in and equip parents with courses, resources, and it has to be teach-led, it cannot be just reading online. It could be teaching-led video courses, but we really believe in teacher-led. Too much is online. People don't retain information. The coaches need their mental skills toolkits, right? They need to know that in order to have leadership, they need to have mental IQ as well, because coaches are in pressure cookers and they need to be able to contribute at the top of this ecosystem in leadership. Athletes are growing. They're human beings who need to learn and grow. So equipping them with the self-talk, how to stop negative self-talk, healthy phone habits, mental skills, and all that is vital to this 3-prong approach. Because now they can communicate, and now everyone's off a phone less, and all of a sudden you'll see and notice the nervous system has absolutely calmed down, which is what we want, right? Now, in terms of how do we support those athletes? Well, to break it down really specifically, we have a program that is 6 to 8 weeks, and we do this for each team. And then we only need to work with the younger teams starting up, right? So it's a really interesting program to look at. Then we also have elite programs for the elite athletes, because if we're really looking at the model that you're using in your club for baseball, soccer, hockey, football, whatever it is, your numbers should be huge at the bottom, right? And by 16, you should still have about 120 kids left. If you've done your job well, you should have your, what we call your homegrown athletes, from exceptional model, from exceptional coaching with exceptional standards. And you know what? If parents don't buy into this, they will learn that they're probably the problem parent. They'll have to go somewhere else and just change the language of your legal documentation. You don't need problem behavior in your organization anymore, and nor do you have to tolerate it. You don't have to tolerate it at all, right? So in our 8-week model, they learn the habits, the social media, the team IQ, how to get along with others, their leadership, their captaincy, how to be a better leader. And they learn how to leverage their mistakes, how to handle feedback, how to visualize. They learn all of these techniques that they have not learned. And it's amazing that 84% of the athletes that have come through our full program and our research, they can control their mind. They can control their emotions. We've just given them the absolute tools to do it. So for the coaches, we do that too. We help them. We give them mental skills to help the athletes. We teach them social emotional intelligence to help the athletes. We teach them cognitive formulas to help the athletes. How to set up your whole year. We have documents, we have downloads that your parents can get. Just email us anytime. But changing your culture can only happen if everyone at the table or in your sports association has high mental IQ. I'll say that again. Leadership, team culture, and a successful association can't happen unless everyone has a high mental IQ, right? So I'll start with that. A sustainable culture holds their standards very high, and they never accept poor behavior, or they don't accept things that aren't functioning properly. We're always working and striving towards being better. That's as human beings, that's as coaches, that's as athletes. Because if we equip the humans first, generally I find athletes and coaches, they can do anything. They can succeed in any sport. This is one of the athletes we taught at Ohio State. And we work with NHL, MLB, elite soccer programs, ecosystems, it doesn't matter, U16, AAA, OHL, it doesn't matter. Every single time I go in, I can see where the problem is and whether or not some boards actually even understand their mission statement. I would bet 80% of where we walk into have no idea about the collective mission that your sports organization is supposed to be actually striving towards in development. Because if we just focus on winning, we will always lose, right? We will always lose. If we think we can fix something for the next year, we'll always lose. If we focus on development, like true development, getting better, 1% better every day, then this is sustainability in sports with standards, everyone thriving, everyone knows their role. And we've really helped the parents, the coaches, and the athletes all at once. And it's a big shift when I go in and I see what's happened in an association. So it feels fantastic, rewarding, making this type of impact where I see kids who have wanted to quit and coaches who are the best and want to quit, because your best coaches will leave first. This is not for debate anymore, because we need sports to help children. And we need sports to give them and use it as a vehicle towards leadership. So if we want to have sustainability, we need to breed that right culture and success in our association. We have to at least look for parents in terms of helping them out, equipping them. And I use that verb, equip, helping. No, we want to equip. It will improve communication and improve clarity, and then you have a more sustainable environment as well. If we are able to look towards the future, I believe that the pendulum has gone too far the other way, and we have to swing it back. And where we thrived the best in sports was in the 80s and 90s, where everything was learning. We were learning everything. Coaches had respect. Parents stayed out of the way. Parents sided with the coaches. And those dynamics, when studied, actually are very and highly effective. So we need to kind of go back to that era in terms of looking at what sustainability looks like. We've lost our path a bit. Well, I'd say a lot. And we need to get back, and we will get back, because these kids in the next generation, I don't want to leave this for my kids' kids. This is not what mountain I'm on here. And I believe that we can help them, because the mental part of sports is just so important to development now and to the student athlete that we can't look away. So I want to thank everybody, Loretta, WOCPSN, everyone, Tina, for having me. I'm honored, and if you want to connect with me, and I'm happy to reach out to all of you to make this happen where you are.
So I'm sorry that Larissa isn't here with us, but we kind of gave her the keynote space because she accomplished what everybody is talking about. It's the mental skills, it's the social, emotional, physical. Again, I was a teacher many years ago of special ed kids. And I said, wow, if I only had the parents and the administrators to work with me and the psychologists and the social workers, we could actually accomplish something. And so what Larissa has done is taken that whole ecosystem of the coaches, the players, and the parents, kind of what Geoff was talking about earlier in terms of his program, and Gabriella was talking about in her program. It's really the whole person and all the resources and people that are connected to that child that impact, the future. So we'll thank Larissa, and I hope you enjoyed it, because she had the statistics and she had the experience and she had the whole 9 yards. So we are going to move on because Benno has just joined us and he is next. And I'll tell you a little bit about Benno. He's the founder of the GENA Declaration and the previously held the UNESCO Chair on Global Understanding for Sustainability at the Friedrich Schiller University, Jena in Germany. He's a fellow of the World Academy of Arts and Sciences and a member of the Academia Europea. He's also the initiator and the director of the 2016 International Year of Global Understanding, approved by the UNESCO General Conference and the GENA Declaration. For almost a decade, Professor Werlin served as a panel member of the European Research Council, contributing to shaping the future of scientific research and sustainability at the highest level. So we have some really fabulous guests here. So he's talking about from talking sustainability to living sustainability, a radical perspective. So welcome, Benno. You got here just in time, and we're delighted to have you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tina. Thank you, Louis and Loretta, of course, for having me. And thank you for this very kind introduction. Yes, I was working on this International Year of Global Understanding, and finally that was the basis for what I'm doing now, bringing the natural sciences, the social sciences, and the humanities for the first time in their existence together in one project. And that led finally then to the International Science Council and the Jena Declaration. And what I'm talking today about is very much related to that. I'm not talking specifically about the ordering of the disciplines in sustainability research. Is dominated still by the natural sciences. And I think that's one of the big problems, not that I'm denying their importance, but the approach to start from nature and then moving on to society and cultures, or ignoring cultural differences, is a big problem for the sustainability agenda. And in fact, that's the background of what I'm talking today, from talking sustainability to living sustainably. The title of my intervention might be confusing. What the heck is the difference between sustainability and living sustainably? You might wonder about this. Let me explain the reasons for the phrasing before I get into the subject. Actually, the title of my talk is the first part of the first of the 10 commandments of the Jena Declaration. And it goes, accelerating the progress towards achieving sustainable development goals and implementing the UN Decade of Action successfully requires a move from talking about sustainability to living sustainably. Such a shift implies the need to focus especially on people's everyday practices. This includes developing policies that enable, promote, and support radical change in people's everyday actions. So that's the important point, not just talking about sustainability as something exterior, but to bring it into something that it's part of our life, part of our way we live, and at our own responsibility. In short, changing from addressing sustainability to ways of living sustainably implies a radical shift in perspective with manifold radical implications and consequences. I'm going to talk about some of them here today. The first implication is the change of the target point, the address of what should be done, for instance, out of the list of the SDGs. You see examples of this in the news every day. Here, much of sustainability is linked to environmental issues like global warming, loss of biodiversity or similar, like avoiding bushfires, droughts, etc. The list of examples could be extended by many others. With this, people feel that they should do something for the environment. And most of the time, it's related with the pressure to do something for the environment or to pay at least something for release by what is called environmental certifications and the like. Overall, this pressure is undoubtedly a key factor in the significant delay to achieving the goals of the Agenda 2030. It is extremely difficult to motivate someone to change their habits for the sake of someone or something else, such as the environment. This is not due to lack of goodwill. As we all know, changing our own habits is extremely challenging. Very often, it is simply a too big challenge. This is not least because we may feel a thought we would lose something. But doing it for someone or something else is even more difficult, perhaps even impossible, without imposing negative sanctions. Threatening or punishing someone is certainly not an effective way to establish new ways of living. As human history shows, it is not a sustainable way to do so. Almost always, they disappear as soon the negative sanctions are lifted. The prohibition in the US around 100 years ago is still the most obvious example of this. Aside from strengthening the mafia, not much was achieved. Therefore, we can conclude that in order to understand the real drivers of societal transformation, the everyday people with their daily routines, two obstacles need to be overcome. Firstly, they need to be addressed directly and not in relation to something else. Secondly, they need to see the positive implications of the change for themselves. To make this achievable, the policy of change needs to address everyday people directly. They need to be addressed with respect and recognition. This is what the Jena Declaration is aiming for. To achieve this, the Jena Declaration has set out 9 additional guiding principles that can be understood as the pivotal lighthouses in stormy times. They can also be seen as guiding principles for working together to overcome the current political turbulence that is putting sustainable future at risk, or as guidelines on how to achieve living sustainably in a respectful and acknowledging way. Let's have a look at at least of some of these 9 other points. Point 2 establishes the basis for establishing ways of living sustainably by emphasizing that there is no good reason to treat nature as an environment that needs to be protected. This is because we are, through our body, part of nature ourselves. We are constantly incorporating nature into our actions, our ways of doing things. Therefore, it is necessary to reverse the nature-human dichotomy to a human-nature interrelation. Point 3 draws on initial conclusion from this, classifying most of the current environmental crisis as a societal crisis resulting from human actions. In short, there are no natural disasters, only disasters, human actions. Point 4 clarifies the basis of human actions. It identifies cultural, social, regional, and historically handed over standards of action that must first be understood before they can properly be addressed. On this basis, point 5 stresses that all policies to foster ways of living sustainably need to take into account, when addressing the citizens of the planet, cultural, social, and regional diversity, as well as past experience of adaptation and current ways of acting with all their well-established habits when addressing the citizens of the planet. In short, one size never really fits all. The 6th point of orientation provides reassurance from an educational perspective that the cultural, social, and natural dimension of everyday practices are inherently connected and locally embedded, as well as being globally interrelated in specific ways. This insight requires scholarship and education that transcends disciplinary silos of knowledge and includes everyday practices around the world. It must also address the world on everyone's doorstep and then consider alternative, more sustainable ways of living. Further impaction of point 6 on higher education and point 7 have to leave here out for time reasons. Point 8 addresses the inclusion of all generations in this process, but especially the younger generation, to bring new policies from the beginning on. This is for many reasons a very important point, but I can't elaborate on this in detail, maybe in the discussion. Perhaps the most radical point is number 9. As we saw at the beginning of my presentation, people need to see the positive implications of change for themselves at first glance, if possible. To establish culturally and regionally diverse ways of living sustainably, creativity and a new aesthetic are necessary. And for the following reason, the way we do things depends very much on what they signify to us and how we see the world and our place in it. In short, we need to develop another cultural frame for establishing different ways of living sustainably. And here, of course, the arts, the humanities, and the social sciences are all crucial for broadening our minds and providing new perspectives on way of living. We need nothing else than a complete rethink of what success really means. For the moment, success is very much related to an unbounded use of resources. Somebody is really successful if he has on every continent at least one big house with hundreds of rooms and tens of bathrooms and hundreds of cars on every place and a jet plane for all personal trips around the planet. And this is the problem. If we are seeing the highest success in a free path to use resources, then we are really sitting on the wrong boat. We should enable humanity to transition from an extractive age to an age of regenerative culture, accelerating the achievement of the SDGs and ensuring success in the most diverse ways. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Benno. This is the day of talking about disruption. Right? This is kind of what Adriana was talking about, disrupting the status quo. And the things that came to mind as you were talking, again, from my background, external motivation for sustainability doesn't have any sustainable future. All right. So this is training us to be internally motivated, that we are connected to the consequences of our own behavior. I think is the way that I heard what you were saying. And just as a little anecdote, my little 3-year-old granddaughter, as we were washing her hands after she used the bathroom, she said, "We have to turn off the water while I'm washing. We can't waste water." And so kudos to her parents, but that is kind of what needs to happen, right?
Sure.
So thank you so much, and we will have some time for discussion and comments after this. And I'm not seeing Jude. I saw him briefly, but I do think that Lafayette is here. Is Lafayette still here? Yes, Lafayette is our next speaker. So Lafayette Hamilton is a highly respected figure in technology industry with over 30 years of experience. He is recognized in the marquee who's who for his exceptional achievements and serves as the founder and executive director of the Pride, P-R-Y-D-E Foundation. We'll find out what that is. As a Navy veteran, he is a mentor, a coach, a trainer, a business owner, and a valuable resource for young professionals. Mr. Hamilton is also the National Career Advisor for the NETHUB Foundation, where he has dedicated the past 4 years to helping young adults from various universities achieve their professional goals. In addition to his work with Pride, he is actively involved in Rotary International projects in the Caribbean, further demonstrating his commitment to supporting the next generation of professionals. And he's going to talk to us about career readiness for the new and the evolving workplace. So welcome, Lafayette. Come on screen. And we're so happy to have you.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Let me apologize. I was not ready to go at this time. So if you would present the next person, then I'll follow after that.
Absolutely.
Please.
All right. So you've heard his bio. Let's see. Is Bertha here? No, we're kind of going to our afternoon
around.
people.
No,
Bertha
it's
is
fine.
here.
I can go now.
Bertha
Right now.
is
Thank
here.
you.
Okay, so let me tell you about our friend Bertha, who's fabulous. Bertha Wakisa Chiudza. Is that correct?
Yeah, don't worry.
Well,
Becca's
let's
fine.
hear it. Let's hear it from how do we pronounce your last name?
Chiudza.
Chiudza. I was close. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
She's a distinguished environmental and social safeguards specialist with a focus on addressing sexual exploitation, abuse, and harassment. She currently serves on the Board of Trustees, the cohort 2024 to 2031, bringing her expertise and leadership to governance and oversight roles. She has been a featured speaker at the Define Your Legacy Conference, serving as a guest speaker in 2023, and returning in 2025 as the host guest speaker, where she continues to inspire and empower future leaders. And she's going to talk to us today about redefining youth entrepreneurship and sustainability. Welcome, Bertha.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for being
Thank you
flexible.
so much. No problem at all. Thank you so much, Tina. So basically, I'm going to talk about redefining youth entrepreneurship and sustainability in Africa. And then I'm also going to put a little bit of a spotlight on one of the initiatives that I'm also doing back home in Malawi. I'm currently based in South Korea, but I'm originally from Malawi. And so I'm very passionate about young people, particularly from the continent of Africa. And I also see a lot of potential. So I believe in working together, all of us as leaders in the space. So maybe for me, just to start, have you ever heard something like this? African young entrepreneur leaders are not up to date with the global trends, hence they fell miserable on the market. Or have you also heard like African youth do not have what it takes to sustain enterprises? Or maybe somebody has also asked you a question. Why is it that despite all the investments and all the aid that is given to African countries to address unemployment, particularly amongst the youth, majority of the economies are still not changing or developing. And maybe we have also heard that the most successful entrepreneurs are not educated. So my question now to you as the listener is, are these popular myths, assertions, or missing realities, or are they denials? So I'm not going to wait for an answer, but let me just give you a little bit of some statistics for you to note. So more than 1 in 4 young people in Africa's economies are not in employment, education, or training. And another statistic that I also want you to have at the back of your mind is that youth unemployment is extremely high, and that's over 20%. And in the sub-Saharan Africa, where my country Malawi is, it's also the highest, between 70 to 80%. And that's more or less like not more or less like, but it is the highest youth unemployment rate in the world, because it's over 30%. And then the African Development Bank also found that in their studies, they found that each year, up to 12 million youth in Africa enter the workforce. That has only 3.1 million jobs. And that actually means that we need 1.7 million new jobs that have to be created. That's each month, not per year, but each month, in order to meet the employment needs. And also ILO has also found that most of the young people who are actually employed are in the self-employment, which is the informal sector. And the ILO actually classifies that as the vulnerable employment. And 95% of Africa's working youth actually fall in this category, which is compared to less than 50% in the Americas, in Europe, in Asia. And vulnerable employment is actually reflected in low productivity, low earnings, and also difficult working conditions. Now, maybe these statistics, we may say maybe we're just focusing on what's not working, and maybe we're focusing so much on the challenges and the like. But I always say in each and everything that we actually meet or come across as leaders, I think there's some definition in terms of with regards to the previous speaker. I think previous speakers who actually talked about leadership. And I think it's pretty much interesting in terms of how he has actually defined leadership. But anyway, let me continue with my presentation. So there's actually a glimpse of hope and also forward-looking, because youth are actually Africa's greatest asset. That much, I think, maybe all of us, and maybe we may also agree to that fact. And also African youth continue to have a strong entrepreneurial spirit, leading to entrepreneurship being considered as the solution to Africa's job challenges. And there's also increasing influence of digital technologies, which continue to provide new opportunities for innovation across different sectors. And also the green leaders, or those who are in the eco space, and entrepreneurs or green entrepreneurs on the continent continue to bring hope to economic development that makes significant contribution to eliminating unemployment, environmental, and also social challenges. And we also have to consider this. Micro, small, and medium enterprises, SMEs, actually account for 80% to 90% of jobs on the continent, that's in Africa, making them significant contributors to socioeconomic development. And B. Royland actually said, African entrepreneurs are not constrained by limited resources. They're actually inspired by them. They find ways to make it work, to create value, to employ others, and to contribute to their communities. Now, let me bring it back now to green entrepreneurship. because I just talked about maybe entrepreneurship in general, but I want to bring it down to green entrepreneurship. So how is Tsinde Eco Empower? That's one of the initiatives that I'm actually doing in Malawi. How is Tsinde Eco Empower in Malawi redefining green entrepreneurship? So young entrepreneurs in Malawi are actually redefining the landscape of sustainability and also drawing attention to the innovative practices and also community-driven initiatives that prioritize environmental stewardship. So Tsinde Eco Empower, it actually stands at the forefront of this movement, showcasing the potential of youth to lead in sustainable development. And also Tsinde Eco Empower exemplifies the transformative power of youth leadership and youth entrepreneurship in advancing sustainability on the continent. And also the organization's success demonstrates that when young people are provided with tools and opportunities to innovate, they can actually drive meaningful change and also contribute to a sustainable future for their communities and also beyond. So at Tsinde, we are actually imagining a world where waste is no longer just waste, but a valuable resource. So what are some of the solution overview, or maybe what are some of the sustainable initiatives that Tsinde is actually doing in the space in order to redefine the entrepreneurship, particularly in the green space? So the startup is actually looking at more coordinated waste collection systems and also making sure that there's that community-based driven process. And also making sure that the informal waste pickers, who are the young people themselves, form the center part or are actually at the center part of the initiative, because oftentimes I think we forget about community involvement, particularly even the people that are actually affected, for them to form part of the initiatives that we are doing. So it's also part of the sustainability. And overall, it's also pioneering sustainability platforms and also investments for scale up, replication in the region and also across the continent. And these are actually done through four pathways. The first one is the creation of a green learning and innovation hub. This is actually the first of its kind in Malawi, because it's a space where young people can be able to come together and co-create. And most of these young people who are actually coming together to co-create and then look at what can we do with the waste that is actually being collected. We have actually other young people, some of them that I also mentor up to date, who have actually spent 18 years of their life in the landfills. So we are trying to tap in that and see in terms of what are some of the ways that we can bring them together, and then they can be able to bring their innovative minds. They may not be able to, they didn't have the privilege to finish their education, as education is normally considered as the gateway, more or less, like out of poverty and the like. But I always say that shouldn't define them. So we bring these young people together, and then with their innovative minds, what can we do? What products can they come up with from the collected waste, for example? So there's the creation of a green learning and the innovation hub. There's also the private waste collection services. And one of the ways that we're actually we're actually starting in July to do the private waste collection is it's these very same young people who actually have their livelihoods in the landfills, and these are the informal waste pickers. So we are bringing them so that they are able to have some sort of like improved livelihoods, but also some sort of like formal kind of employment, and also coming up with waste to worth models, different models that the young people from the Green Innovation and Learning Hub will actually come up with. And then there's also the partnership and collaboration, which is very, very key. So what is next? Maybe I'm not talking specifically to this initiative, but I'm talking about most of us who are in the sustainability space. We actually need to rethink about the untapped skill sets from a sustainable entrepreneurship perspective. We also need to leverage existing opportunities and potential, and also leverage on the passion and mission of making a difference. And pretty much all the speakers that have actually spoken before me, I've also seen that the passion is about the mission, and that's what drives us. And let's continue in that with that spirit as well. And it's also about celebration of resilience as well. It's very, very important. Innovation and also growth. And it's also about letting the young African entrepreneurs identify potential ventures that will be able to address their pressing issues. I always say the moment we forget about the people that normally in a project development we call them beneficiaries, which of course I don't like, but to a certain extent it's like the people that we're actually targeting, whether it's the rights holders, whether it's the target groups, we need to make sure that they're also forming part, or they are actually in the driver's seat, and then we follow, which to a certain extent I think investors and sponsors and maybe donors as a way of maybe just putting it, we normally think for them, do for them, or tell them what is actually required. So we are here to think not just small sustainable businesses for my village, my small village in Malawi, but also we are looking at the continent and also the global level. And I believe that together we can actually do it. So I'm going to conclude with a call to action. They may look a lot, but I think just to zero in on a few issues that I would like all of us to reconsider and consider and also continue doing. So the time is now to harness creativity and energy for a sustainable future. There are many good practices across that have actually proven that youth entrepreneurship, particularly in the green space, can lead the way in addressing environmental challenges while also creating economic opportunities. And the second one is let's embark on ventures that prioritize eco-friendly solutions, renewable energy, and also waste reduction. And also by developing the projects that integrate sustainability into their core, we can actually make a profound impact for our communities and also the continent and the world at large. And another call to action is let's engage in education and advocacy, spread awareness about the importance of environmental stewardship, and also inspire others to take action. And let's collaborate, seek mentorship, and leverage on available resources to turn our ideas into action. In conclusion, I believe that together we can redefine the narrative around sustainability in Africa. And I also believe that we should let our entrepreneurial spirit be the driving force behind a greener, more prosperous future. And we also need to take bold steps, innovate fearlessly, and lead the charge towards a world where sustainable development is the norm and not the exception. And lastly, to all of you that are listening to me, your journey starts now if you haven't yet started. So be the change, and together let's create a lasting legacy for generations to come. Thank you so much, and that's the end of my submission. Thank you, and over.
Thank you, Bertha. Again, do you get her heart? And what I love about this conference is you think big. You know, it starts small. You talk about education. We have a theme here, right? That we teach the young people and give them the skills and the support and the help, and let them kind of use their creativity and intelligence and all the other things so that we can grow as a globe. So thank you for your work. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to come back. I saw that Jude entered. Jude, are you ready? Because I kind of put Lafayette on the spot a little bit before.
I'm ready if Jude is not.
So let me, Jude, take a moment. And actually what I'm going to ask you all to do is, we've been on for over 2 hours, and it seems to be going really quickly. But how about just a stretch, just to stand up for a second? And I need to stretch my legs. And so, just kind of a little kind of shake and stretch. And there's Loretta. All right. I'm ready to rock and roll again. Okay. Loretta, do you want to say something before Lafayette jumps on?
Well, thank you, everyone. It is so interesting how everyone is theming with WOCPSCN is. Isn't that interesting? Hey, go figure. But I am so grateful, so excited. I am so confident that we're going to shift things and shift the atmosphere. I am so elated about it that I'm willing to go to our heads of state and tell them, not this go round, try another time, but not this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Loretta. Thank you for being the theme that's underneath all of this. All right, Lafayette. So you ready to go? I kind of gave your bio a little bit, but he's the founder and the chief executive and director of WOCP. No, that's Loretta. Sorry. Let me just jump back for 1 second because I want to give you so I'm going to pull this one. He's a Navy veteran, a mentor, a coach, a trainer, and a business owner, and a valuable resource for young professionals. How's that, Lafayette?
Short and sweet.
All righty. There you go.
All right. So, greetings, everyone. I am so honored to be here. I am always honored to be in the presence of great people that are doing positive things. Because as my motto states, it's think positive, live positive in everything that you do. So my focus, as you mentioned, is really about helping our young people to become successful. In other words, putting them on a path of success, because success takes time, right? So you have to have the right discipline, you have to have the right training, you have to have the right mindset. So that's what I do, and that's what my foundation does. So my whole goal in life is to provide as much opportunity for the younger generation and to also get them ready to be successful. So our demographic that we target is 17 to 21. So we're looking at high school seniors. They're on their last year of school. So we try to work with them to prepare them with whether they're moving on to college or they're going into the workforce. So depending on what that student needs, that's what we provide for them. And that is my passion. It's what I love to do because I like to see people successful. I don't know, maybe it's kind of weird, but I just like to see people productive and successful because life is short, right? And tomorrow is not promised to any of us, and we can't reverse the clock. So, we have to do the best that we can with the time that we're given. So that's what I try to teach my students. So as you mentioned, I'm also a national career advisors for university students. And the reason I chose to do that is simply because I've realized that the students that are graduating, I would say probably over the last 4 or 5 years from what I've seen, are still not prepared for the working world, right? So yes, they can get prepped for an interview, but when it comes to, job performance, they have very, very bad work ethic, which is the nicest way I could put it. There's such a lack of discipline, so I'm asking myself, why is that? You know, and then I realized that it's something that has to be embedded within them from an early age, right? So my next thought was, okay, how can I use the resources that I have to reach as many people as possible? So we decided to create this website called tpfglobal.net. And it's a membership website and is available to students all over the world. And the whole concept of this is to bring students together so that they can learn from each other culturally, as well as we're going to be offer them a lot of skills training, technology training, whatever we feel those students need for them to be successful. So that is the whole point of the platform, is to bring everybody together. Even you know people in different careers. They could come on and they could talk about their careers. So if somebody, let's say, in France wants to be, I don't know, a pilot. You can ask questions. Okay, what is it like being a pilot? you know, and learn from someone and learn the right way to do things. Because a lot of our kids out there don't have their path mapped out for them because they're not sure of what they want to do. They may say, okay, I want to be a pilot. All right, how do I be a pilot? How do I become a pilot? Well, yeah, if you can Google it, you can research, but it's always best to talk to someone who's doing it, someone who has lived it. So that is the whole purpose of it. So we're planning to bring people in from all over the world, different careers, different nationalities, and just have a, for lack of a better word, a safe space where kids can come and learn and develop and grow together. Because I believe that if you build together and grow together, everybody wins, right? Very simple, very simple. So that is the whole purpose of the platform. So I wanted to kind of open this question to the panel. Are you seeing the same thing that I'm seeing? Because I know different places operate differently, but are you seeing the same thing as far as the young adults going into the working world or entering the workforce? Are you seeing the same things that I am seeing?
So I think that Lafayette is asking for a conversation. So if
Yes.
anybody wants to jump in, please just either raise your hand with the thing or just kind of jump in and speak. And I can't believe that you're all not seeing the same thing as Lafayette is seeing. I'll just jump in and start, Lafayette. What I see, and kind of a lot what Larissa was talking, is impulse control.
Mhm.
A lot of these kids don't have the skill to be able to manage that internal system. And so what do? They react. Just the most normal thing to do. You know, we feel under attack, we hit back. We do this, somebody talks to us nasty, we talk. And
Right.
so it requires education, right? The same way as all the other pieces to create a person that is functional and well-performing and knows how to work and all those things. But that's one of the things that I see the most with the youth and a lot of the gangs and it's how do I control these emotions so that I can communicate and speak my mind and go to that next level. Geoff, how about you?
I think the whole question of how young people are indeed equipped and empowered to become either career skills enabled with the tools to compete in life, or even entrepreneurial. A lot of the young people I speak to don't want to work for anybody. In fact, they are so interactively, digitally equipped in a virtual world. It's how we help them strike a balance. We cannot remove the mobile devices. We cannot take away the interactive world that they are so immersed in. So we have to strike a balance. But more importantly, we have to give them their emotional intelligence, their IQ intelligence, and the AI intelligence. I'm very much looking at how AI presents challenge and opportunity, but I think we need to create an ecosystem where, as Lafayette is saying, I find the empowerment, the skills, the employability, the entrepreneurship, an ecosystem of social, cultural, and economic win-win-win. That's for the young global talent, the community that they live in, and the society that they ultimately contribute to. But there are massive challenges in young people who feel that the traditional education to skills, employability, whether it be through further higher education, is not for them. And I think we have to become more diverse in how we engage them, how we equip them, and how we empower them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's interesting that you touch on the technology part of it because artificial intelligence is moving so rapidly, right? So imagine 4 years from now where we're going to be. Are we properly preparing our students for the future? Because the old model no longer works. You know, as I was having a discussion with a friend of mine yesterday, I said, take the thinking or the thought process out of everything because AI is here. You know, what you used to get paid to do, now software will do it for you. So every business owner has to restructure. and will restructure. So no matter what career field you're in, it's going to be driven by technology. If not now, in a couple of years. So that's another question that I wanted to present is, are we doing enough to prepare our students for success in this new modern workplace?
Adriana, I think you want to jump in here.
Yeah, I think that the conversation is super interesting. I just wanted to point out an essential rule of change, which of course come when you are leading. I mean, we don't lead if there is not a very strong purpose for which to lead from. And of course, our strong purpose is then embodied in the world through some kind of change. A lot of my work is about in corporate environment to give managers the courage to actually change their own organization. But one of the things that change makers normally are not very good at is to actually understand the losses that they are creating when they are providing a big element of change. So I think that if we want to get more involved in changing every system, whether it's a larger nation or educational institution or a company, I think that there is a need to be absolutely crystal clear about naming what are we actually giving up, what are we actually keeping, and what are we actually need to learn and need to develop. It's almost kind of three circles, the circle of what the behavior and way of being and values they don't serve us anymore and they need to go. The value that are essential to who we are and that need to continue to be guarded and considered essential, and we cannot give up on them. And then this new, like AI, for example, this new development of skills and ability to actually learn new ways through experimentation so that we can develop new capacity to actually deal with the future. We are very good as change makers in talking enthusiastically about what will come and how great it's going to be. And sometimes we forget to mourn the actual pain of the losses that change inevitably brings to people.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. So my thought on possible solutions is, one, we have to introduce our children to technology at an earlier age. To me, if you've reached 17 years old and you're not proficient with using a computer, then you're at a great disadvantage. Whether you're going into college or whether any other higher learning or any career, it's all driven by computers. And what I've noticed is that there has not been an emphasis on technology skills, right? And again, it depends on where you are. And that's why I posed that question, because I want to see if it's the same thing that's happening elsewhere. Because that goes to career readiness. If you are not computer literate, I mean, you have to get there really quick. So that's another problem that I see and another challenge that I'm trying to address with this platform. So my final thought is, I think it's incumbent on all of us as leaders to really take a good look at the way that we educate our children and make sure that we are properly preparing them for the workforce, because that's what I'm seeing. They're not properly prepared. It doesn't matter what degree, it doesn't matter what certification, it doesn't matter. They're all basically going in blind. They don't know what they're getting into. So they should have access to internships, opportunities to work in the field and things like that. And that's what my goals are, really, to bring all of those resources to the community. So yeah, that's basically what I wanted to talk about, workforce readiness. And, that is my 2 cents. Does anyone else have any comments?
A little bit more than 2 cents, Lafayette.
Well,
Thank
yes.
you.
I try to keep it short. And before I go, let me also talk about the Global Literacy Initiative that we're doing. Look out for more information for that. We'll be doing reading programs from bookstores, virtually. So we're doing a whole lot of things centered around reading and mathematics and so on. So stay tuned for more information on that. All right.
Beautiful. And again, I'm going to just encourage you all, put your information here, put your LinkedIn, how to find each other. There's so much room for collaboration, real collaboration, because so many of you are on the same page, doing a lot of the same work. And, there's strength in numbers. So make sure that you connect with one another, our guests and our speakers, everybody. Okay, so Jude I'm going to struggle here. Akinyumi. No, I don't think it's right. Jude, would you come on so I make sure that I have your name pronounced exactly correctly? There he is. Okay, Jude, tell us your name.
Hi, Tina. Hi, everyone. Good evening. It's the evening in this part of the world. So my name is Jude Akinyumi.
Okay, stop there. And then I'm going to read a little bit more about your bio. He is a dynamic community engagement manager and a project manager with a strong track record of leadership in civic and entrepreneurial spaces. He serves on the Board of Trustees, the cohort 2022 to 29, where he contributes to strategic planning and community-centered governance. Jude was a guest speaker at the 2021 Pan-African Chamber of Commerce and has been invited as the host guest speaker for the 2025 Define Your Legacy Conference. I believe that's the one in Madrid, if I'm correct, where he continues to amplify voices and build bridges across diverse communities. And he's going to talk to us about empowering communities through innovation, a blueprint for sustainability. So welcome. I know you've had a very busy night, and thank you again for joining us. And you're
Thank you,
on.
Tina. Thank you, Loretta, for the opportunity. And good evening. I'm super excited to be on this call with you all. I'm excited to share something I found very passionate, something it's more or less like my nut, something that is like a fire in my bone that keeps me going every now and then. And that is how we can empower communities through innovation and a blueprint for sustainability. I have a small slide I would love to share. So let's see if I can bring my screen up. Hey, can you confirm if you can see my screen? Okay. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can, Jude.
Okay, just a second. Okay. So, yes. So a little bit about me. My name is Jude Akinyumi, like I rightly said earlier. I manage innovation programs and partnership at the oldest indigenous bank in Nigeria, Wema Bank, where I also double as the community manager for startups, where we design high impact programs and partnership, and as well as accelerator programs for the startup communities here in Nigeria. And when I'm not doing that, when I'm not doing anything tech, I am a boy child advocate. I'm very passionate about the boy child tribe. I'm always looking for how we can, empower the boy, because in this side of the world where I am, there is this general misconception about the boy. I don't know, maybe it's just where I come from, but it's just a normal saying. Like, we pay more attention on the girl child, which is very good. We appreciate that, but oftentimes we leave the boys and we assume the boys will be fine. So what I'm doing when I'm not doing tech is that I volunteer with this organization called Boy Scout Africa, where we see to it that we also empower the boy child tribe. We also provide them with all the tools needed for them to transition from boyhood to manhood. So that's a little bit about what I do. So do you know that over 70% of the world innovation emerged from grassroots community, yet communities are excluded in global sustainability conversation? The truth is that uh, these communities that we often neglect. I pride myself as a community manager. I build and manage growth-driven communities. So I have come to understand that every now and then there are a lot of fantastic ideas, fantastic innovations from these communities. But once we don't tap into them, once we don't try to understand this community, go into this community, understand our pain points, we realize that we are not really there yet. We are not solving, we are not innovative enough to see what is the pain point or what is happening in our local communities. And I've been talking about communities. So what is communities? Communities are a group of people or ecosystem or even individuals that, connect, grow, and, creates together to achieve a common goal. All right. So I pride myself as a firm believer in community engagement as a tool for global development. I strongly believe that the more we invest in our communities, the better it is for us as a nation. I'm very, very happy when I came in when Lafayette was talking, and he was talking about his passion about I heard schoolboys about educating them about tech or something like that. And I'm just very excited to hear things like that because the more we invest in our community, the better it is for us as a nation. So again, what the core of the things I do, I manage during my 9 to 5 as a banker. I do tech, and part of the things I do is that we design high impact programs, and often before I even joined the bank, there was sometimes ago when I was staying in my university days, I designed this TEDx program. And why did I have to volunteer to do this? Because I saw a need. Now, in the community where I was then, I realized that a lot of people have the right mindset, but they do not have the exposure needed to carry out that potential in their minds. Like there is no exposure for them. There is no mentors. There is no somebody that can walk them through the journey. So oftentimes their growth is being stifled. Oftentimes they lack clarity and direction. And these guys have so much potential, but nobody's looking at them. Then for me, I was thinking, how can I bridge this gap? Then I thought of organizing an event for my local community where I was able to bridge these challenges, where I was able to connect these local students in that community to mentors and to, people that have walked that path. It is easier when you see somebody ahead that has walked the path you are trying to walk. It just gives you this self-confidence that you're not alone on this journey. So I was able to do that program, and, the aftermath of that program was very overwhelming. I mean, it was very, very, very interesting rather. Like we got a lot of amazing feedback. And what stood out for me is that, I heard a lot of people coming to tell me that, they've never believed they could actually, work in some realities. They never believed they could actually get, because part of the aftermath is that we taught them digital skills, and some of them never believed they could get a remote job where they could work in Europe right from Nigeria, because one of the facilitators actually exposed their mind to see how they can, apply for jobs and how they can fine-tune their skills for them just to be market ready. And when I hear people coming to me that, do you know that because of this event, I was able to, get this job. Because of this event, I was able to become a better person. That is just very, very satisfactory for me. So these are the things we do when we invest more in our communities. We build a community or an ecosystem of growth-driven and serious-minded people. So and another thing is that building a sustainable framework for communities, this also leads to sustainability. So how does it lead to sustainability? For a use case now, the TEDx events are organized. We empower single community. We set a chain of reaction for impact, like let's call it education, SDG 4. We also create decent work and economic growth by what they were able to, the aftermath of it, and also as it's also tied to SDG 11, sustainable cities and communities. These communities are now better. They are not who they were, and yeah, they will know who they were. And my call to action as I'm wrapping up this is that as we consider the impacts we wish to leave behind, let us remember that legacies are built through actions we take away today. Every community we empower, every innovation we champion, every leader we inspire contribute to the story of a sustainable future, because we have an opportunity and obligation to shape a future, a world that thrives on equity, innovation, and sustainability. Imagine a future where every community has the tool to innovate, every idea finds its platform, and every leader equips and drive meaningful change. That future starts with us. I am encouraging us to, to take that initiative, to look back into our community and see what we can do for our community. And here is how we can play our part in defining this legacy. We can choose to become an advocate or a mentor. At Boys Quarters, again, we are the biggest boy child transformation in Africa. One of our initiatives is that when we are not doing boys, because one of the things we do is that we are the biggest noisemaker of boys in Africa. We try to sensitize boys about how to live, about wholesome masculinity, how to tell them that it's okay for them to cry, it's okay for you to express your emotions, it's okay for you to be vulnerable, right? Oftentimes they have been taught that you have to man up. So these are the things we do. We take that initiative. And once we're not doing that, we have another platform called Conversation. Conversation is a close and open space where we don't judge each other, where young men come together and share their vulnerability, right? So what we are actually doing is that we don't need perfect men. We just need people that are vulnerable enough to share their story, to empower age boys. So by becoming a mentor, you can come, just share your story. It is easier, scientifically, it is easier for a boy child to mirror his father. It is just very scientific. I don't know, maybe that is scientifically proven, but it is easier for a boy child to mirror his father, to mirror a male figure in his life. And that is why we are encouraging people to become a mentor, become an advocate. And another way we can actually play a part in defining our legacies, we should invest in communities focused on innovation. We can invest in our communities. If we are not doing advocate, we can invest in innovation. I heard a conversation when I came in, I was hearing about AI. AI is the new buzzword now. This is the future of things. AI gets things faster. So we should invest, and we have not even scratched the surface yet. We are just entering the era of AI, artificial intelligence. There is so much more AI can do. So I want us to see how we can also invest in our community, invest in innovation, see how we can engage our community, our local communities, and see how we can, let them be aware of the latest trends in innovation, how we can also bring them up to speed, either by training them or by supporting innovation that speaks to that area. And lastly, we can collaborate across boundaries. I heard Tina saying that we can share our LinkedIn profile, so that we can connect and, see how we can cross-fertilize our ideas and, collaborate across boundaries. So these are the ways we can actually, play our own part in defining our legacy. I will leave us with this final quote. A legacy is not built in isolation. By empowering communities through innovation, we craft a sustainable future for generations to come. Thank you very much. Yes. I think you're muted, Tina. I think you're muted. Okay.
Yes, we had some noise outside. So I just want to say thank you once again. And once again, my heart is open and inspired. And Loretta, you have brought together, once again, you and Lewis, a panel that is dynamite and dynamic and inspiring. And what can I say? Thank you. Your energy is contagious, and I think that there's not a guy out here that wouldn't want to just go find some young man to mentor. And we all need a lot of help. So beautiful. Thank you again, Jude. So Loretta, I'm not seeing Remy yet. So do you want to take a few minutes?
Absolutely. I want to thank you so very much. I just want to give my personal thank you personally, not only to our presenters, but those that are present who took time of their busy schedules on a Saturday to be with us. I, with all my heart and all my mind and all my soul, thank you. I cannot begin to share with you how important this is, that a vision that I saw is here and that is happening, and we were able to embrace it. And each and every one of you were talking about an aspect of sustainability within the 4 pillars. It was education. It's about health. It's about community development. It's about global sustainability. And I just say thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm also here because 4 years ago, our illustrious president of the Global Sustainability Partnership, Mr. Louis, came up with an idea that we need to bring attention to those who have done outstanding work within our realm, to give opportunity and honor. I believe in giving people flowers while they yet live. And I'll share a personal story with me. Just 30 days ago, I lost my beloved godmother. And the wonderful thing I can recall is I always sent her flowers. I always called her and told her how much I love you. I always let her know she was on my heart and mind. And you guys know, I'll drop you a link on LinkedIn in a minute. Just say anything, but I'll end with I love you or let's chat. And I mean that. I don't say it to say it. I say it to mean it. And I'm just so very grateful. And so what we want to do is honor one of our own, Dr. Bino Werlin. And we are offering him this opportunity to open up his heart and to thank him so very much for what he has done for the world as the UNESCO chair on global understanding and sustainability. He has a great responsibility that he has taken on and is willing to embrace. As the founder of his own organization, Gender Declaration, I can't begin to tell you the work that he has done around that, including the year before last, embracing WOCPSCN to be a part of that. And we brought in the Caribbean conversation into that. We brought the Caribbean community when he was looking at global sustainability. Dr. Bino is dedicated, committed. He is an educator. He is a philosopher, but more important, he is a good human being. And that is one of the greatest qualities we can say about anyone. When you do it from your heart, it is not a task. Louis will tell you, I'm telling everybody about your not, that what you cannot not do. When you got to get up and do what you got to do. It's not because you're looking for accolades. It's not because you're looking for someone to pat you on the back. It's your love and your passion for human life and human beings. That's why we do what we do. Because we understand that there's a lot going on in the world, but we have solutions that we can collectively come together. And in that collectiveness, we can make change one community at a time. I tell everybody, don't look at the world because it's overwhelming. Look at your backyard. What do you have to offer? And give it to your community. It will make a change because it's contagious. That's why we're all on here. It's contagious what we do. We will do this until we drop off the earth. But the wonderful thing about that, we will leave a legacy that other people can pick up and run with. We're putting down roots that next generations can go forward with. That's the important thing, the heart. What we're doing is from the heart, and we appreciate you so much, Dr. Bino. We love you so very much. And plug time, we are looking forward to seeing you in September when the Jazzy Jays Women's Car event will be taking place in Spain. Hopefully you can come be with us. We're going to have Geoff there talking about that. Adriano, you said you were coming. So many are coming. I know Tina's going to be there. We are going to just open the doors and just open up conversation and draw people in. Trust me. You know, it's hard to tell me no. We already know that's not easy because I don't know what that word means. That's not my vocabulary. So I'm just saying, I'm telling everybody now. So work through it. But Dr. Mito, thank you. We'd like to give you the floor and have a few words, and then we'll offer it back to Tina.
Yeah, thank you very much, Loretta. It's very, very kind of you to talk about me with these words. I mean, what I can say, I try to implement what I see as the right thing to do, and that's giving a lot of strength to go on. I mean, the work I'm doing now, I started in 2008 to engage on an international or global level to work on something that I saw coming and what we are living today. My view was that with the digitalization and the globalization of our life, people get so much insecure because somebody said that all innovations are also bringing a lot of loss, and people were losing the roots of their world representation. And that's the old-fashioned geographical representation of the world in form of nation state and so on. And with globalization, all these geographical constellations or representations we were used to were shattered. And now we have an American president and many people also over here in Europe and in other places of the world. They're just losing that insecurity of people to go back in the political agenda nearly 100 years back. I'm living in Jena, and that's very close to Weimar, and Weimar is very close to Buchenwald, and that was the first concentration camp that the Nazi movement or party established. And to see that now, 100 years later, that we are with rather the same rhetoric again on that track. I hope that we are not end up at the same place. It's up to you to fight again. And I think the only thing we can do is to treat people in a respectful way and not telling them all the time what they have to do. We have to listen to them first, understanding how they are seeing the world, and from there on, building new ways of living. And as I said on my talk, the second important point, in my view, is that we really need to change the definition of success. We cannot go on to define success in a way that it's undermining the living conditions of other people. That's not. We have to have another idea of success, and I think it should be based in respect and understanding of one another, and finding solutions together for what are the problems of the people's life in all different places, under all different conditions. So we have to find different solutions for different kinds of problems, and not having the idea to look for a world government that thinks that there is one solution for all. I think that's exactly the wrong way to think about. Thank you very much, Loretta, and thank you all of you for listening to me now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Benno. Thank you so much. And I haven't seen Remy, so we are actually getting ready to conclude here. And I'll throw in my
sorry to interrupt, Tina. Well, Remy's is scheduled for in about 45 minutes. So what I suggest is if we could maybe open up the floor
for sure.
For the panel and to the audience, because I think that's what community is all about, isn't it? That's what we're all talking about right now.
I know. I kind of lost track at the time. I'm more into the order. So
yeah, no, and I completely understand. Plus, we're ahead of time. We're ahead of time. So I think there's a number of topics that have been brought up, whether it's education, sports, innovation, community development, sustainability in the true sense of the words. So I'm not talking about the marketing term that's being used nowadays, right? I think everybody is kind of familiar with how that's being used. So I'm really glad to hear a lot of things resonate, not only with our pillars, but I think, throughout, the panel, and I can see a number of people reacting, with the videos on. So let's open up the conversation. And if anyone has questions for any of our speakers, or even between speakers, I think it would be interesting to do that now. Thank you.
Anybody want to jump in? As even, we have people that have been with us from this early this morning, which we're so grateful for. And if you have something to share, that would be
Well,
also
Let's
terrific.
maybe start with dear Andre Bowen, because yes, I saw that Andre joined early on. So yes, here we go.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for this very enriching evening. I'm pretty full from all the polls I got from all the flowers that were out here tonight. And yeah, it's related to Professor Whalen, to Benno here, because I practiced the Jena Declaration this morning, did a little meditation on it. And what's so beautiful in it is like this relieving knowledge now that we are a whole part of nature. This is what I grew up with, is like I'm the opposite of nature. I'm a human, it's a kind of alien species. It does not belong to biology. It's something of it else. And like creation is made for me to use and the rest of humanity. This is how I grew up. And it is so difficult to get out of this, to a deeper realization that I am a whole part of this beautiful living system. And that is such a relief. And it also releases me from having to save the world. That's the other manic thing, or a manic thing I see a lot. It's like now starting movements, now that we saw that we are so destructive to this living system, we become its savior. And so that is the other part of being a part of nature. I don't have to save the whole thing. It's more like the world saving me in these days, as the feeling. And the second notion, as what I especially love with the Jena Declaration, that the SDGs, which I have a kind of strange relationship with. I love them. I love the symbolic system. On the other side, they are very anthropocentric, in my view. And they are very high goals that frustrate me a lot. Oh no, we have just 5 years left now to achieve them. And they are so high that I feel frustrated a lot. And every day in my personal life, I see how much I fail them, much more of how I serve them. And it's so beautiful to get in this, that those are not goals, that those are more practices that I can do every day. Or as a gamer, we talk about like my weekly quest or my daily quest, or I can repeat it a lot. And this is something we explore right now too. It's like making a game out of it, a card game. Every day I play out a quest card. I practice the SDGs. And this is another relief for me. Now I don't have to achieve the SDGs every day or count like the indicators and measure how far I am away and get frustrated altogether, especially in this time practicing every day. It's more like a comment, not a question, but which came out of the meditation this morning with the Jena Declaration, being part of nature and SDGs as a daily practice. So thank you so much, Professor Whalen and the rest, for joining in this big quest, the great work, as Thomas Berry called it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. If you allow me, Luis, just to make some reflection on what Andre said. I think this idea of the environment has been established here in Jena by Ernst Haeckel. He's the founder of modern ecology. And he had this idea that spaces are the decisive category or power to decide between life that is realizing itself and life that is disappearing. This was used later on for the geographical model, but also for biology and the biological definition of life in the end of 19th century led to that vision. I mean, it's also in the Bible that the nature is our opposition and so on, but it's wrong. I mean, we have a body, and our body is part of nature. I mean, and if you accept that, then we can think how to reconstruct our cultural background, that we are getting rid of this opposition to see nature just as a resource or as a capital to use, and not thinking about the basis of all life forms. So if we start to understand, to see us as part of all that, then maybe we will also improve our own life, because we'll be more adapted to our real basis and not have anthroposophic constructed reality as our basis. And again, we should then have another idea of success. And the other part you mentioned is, what was the second part you mentioned?
Is SDGs as a daily practice.
Yes, exactly. I think the SDGs are the outcome of international negotiations on the one side, secondly, of interdisciplinary negotiation inside of science, and then thirdly, inter-partner negotiations between science and private industry or private business stakeholders. And all that is done between representative of states. And that's all that are inters, yeah? And nobody is with, only between representatives of states. And governments not always know exactly how their people live. So we need to go into that and say it's maybe helpful to a certain extent to have a categorization of problem constellations and life forms, but it's more a pressure for people than an invitation to engage personally, because they haven't been part of this whole negotiations. So we shouldn't put too much emphasis on this catalog of the SDGs, but of course.
Excuse me, Benno, could you tell us what SDGs are? Because I don't know.
I see, I'm sorry. The Sustainable Development Goals.
Okay.
Sustainable Development Goals, that's the Agenda 2030. And the second part, the one part of that problem is also that it's about development. I mean, what the hell? How do we know what development is? Is this going closer to the categories that have been set by this representative of states and scientific disciplines, or is it something else? So people themselves have to decide what for them the success is, when it's done in the sense that it's not against other people's life and living basis and so on. So we should.
So can I ask you another question? Could you give us some very specific, concrete kind of actions that we can take? Just taking it down to the individual, taking it out of the global and giving it to everybody else as the responsibility. What can we do?
Yeah, that's exactly the point. My point is that the people themselves have to find out what the way to go is. I'm not in the position to tell what other people should do, but people in their places should sit together and say, what is our problem and how can we solve it? And scientists have to listen first to the citizens, how they see the problem, and then they can assist. If the scientific disciplines are deciding to give a definition of the problem situation, that's normally in the interest of their discipline and their theoretical background. Nothing against that inside of science. But science cannot be the emperor of the world. That's not the idea of science. Science idea is to enlighten people's living conditions, to give them knowledge and to test certain forms of knowledge. But they can't tell people what they have to do. the position I was talking about is in this organization in Istanbul of Times Higher Education Supplement and other stakeholders about authority and authenticity of scientists. I mean, for the scientific qualification and the disciplinary work, people aim to become an authority in their field. They know their business. They are an authority. That's okay. But they cannot go with that attitude to the citizens and tell them, I know everything. I can tell you what you have to do. They should listen to them first, and they should be authentic when are talking with them. They cannot have a lifestyle that's the contrary of what they are telling people to do, for instance. So they should be able to listen to them, to be authentic, and to find solutions, help them to find solutions for their problems, and not engaging the citizens to help them to solve the scientific problems. I think that's a very complicated issue. I was talking about this to all leaders of disciplines. I was giving a talk in 2011 to all the 74 presidents of international organization of natural scientific organizations, from meteorology down to medicine and so on. I was talking to the global meeting or the international meeting of representatives of all social scientific disciplines and also to the humanities. They have difficult to understand what I'm saying, but they found it interesting enough to engage for the first time in their more than 100-year history to engage for one project, and that was the International Year of Global Understanding. So they started to talk to one another. Normally, they don't even talk to one another. And that's, I think, a way that we can go to see the role of science differently and not as the institution of dominance of all other citizens, but to see them as a position of helping people to solve their problems and not just the other way around, as I said, to engage citizens to help science to solve their problems.
You've given me some ideas. Thank you.
I mean, the communities, if they talk to one another, now it's incredibly hot over here, more than it has ever been probably. So people start to think, how can we master that situation? Of course, they need then the insight of the scientists, but these are not the only people. Everybody in science is thinking about his or her discipline and not of.
When I moved from New York to California, in terms of composting and all, you needed a college education here. I had so many options of bins, right? Coming from a place, and that was from New York, which we had something. There are states that we have nothing, like next to nothing.
Yeah.
Come to Germany, we have everything here. It's like 9 different ways of sorting and plus.
Who else? Any other comments, questions, considerations? Adriana, you want to jump in for something? No. Okay.
Yeah, I think if I'll briefly jump in. So I did get news from our dear friend Remy, who will try to join us a bit earlier than scheduled. I think there's a common thread, as per all our speakers today and before. I think we obviously share. I'll actually put ourselves on gallery mode so I can see everyone much better than just 1 or 2 people. I mean, there's a common thread, and I believe what Benno shared with us, not only about, as Andre rightfully said, so practicing sustainability and seeing ourselves as part of it. And I think it links with a number of our other conversations today. So it links in with Adriano's leadership aspect and how we see leadership, how we experience leadership. So yes, Adriano may have a more an interesting approach and a challenging one to many, but it's not one that should be put aside, because challenging someone or challenging an idea is exactly what's needed. If we don't challenge ourselves in certain areas, then we don't advance, right? So if I go back to Lafayette in education, same thing. And I bring it back to whether Bertha or Jude, it's all about one of our key pillars actually within WOCPSCN, but also as a larger whole, it's a community development aspect. And linking that to, I'll try to make a point shortly because I'm a talker, but linking it to the SDGs, yes, it's I think it's both complex but needs challenging. To use the word that Adriano used, and also something that comes up quite often. And innovation has been mentioned, technology has been mentioned, mobile phones have been mentioned, AI as the big evildoer. But I think the main point that a lot of people are asking, that's when people reaching out to ask questions about, for example, sustainability, about the SDGs. Why only 17 goals? Why goals? Why 2030? And I think that's the common thread. So coming back to my initial statement, I think that's the common thread here is there's there's many more goals to have, and there's many more actions to take, many more things to challenge, because calling it goals, it used to be the year 2000, then 25, now it's 2030, and we were already talking about 2050 right now, right? However, when and to quote almost what Bertha said, we need to we must not forget to put the work in on the ground. And I think policy has its own place, within the sustainability world, and the policy summits, whether it's GOP or other ones that we all know are necessary because policy makes things advance. However, I believe it's with communities like these, communities that are challenging things on the ground, grassroots level, the people who are actually working in the field already, not people that would like to make changes. I think that's the important part. And I believe that kind of links in with everyone that has spoken so far. And I'm sure that our friend Remy that just joined will add a bit more to that even. But does that sound
Yeah,
about right, Benno
absolutely.
and Adriano and everyone else?
Absolutely. And I'll save my closing comments for to add on to what you said, and we can have a couple closing comments from everybody, because there's a lot of thought-provoking kinds of ideas. But we are so delighted to have Remy here with us. I think we grabbed you before you might have been ready, but I'm going to read your bio, and you're going to help me out also with pronouncing your last name. So I have Remy Chukwunyere. Am I close?
Chukwunyere.
Okay. All right. I'm going to let you say your last name for me, and I could do it phonetically. But Remy is an accomplished entrepreneur, an ecosystem builder, and a leadership coach with over 25 years of experience expanding Nigeria's public and private sectors. A fellow of the Swedish Institute's Impact Pioneers program and the Abuja Leadership Center, he holds an executive MBA in technology and an MSc in public governance and leadership from the University of Abuja. Is that
All right.
okay? Great. Currently, he serves as the executive director of the Ugwamba Leadership Center, fostering entrepreneurship and job creation in Africa. Passionate about mentoring youth, Mr. Remy balances his professional pursuits with family life and a love for writing. And he's going to talk to us about Mother Earth is Weeping, an urgent call to action for the future. So welcome, Remy. Thank you so much for making the time to be with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So do I have the floor now?
Yes, you do. 100%.
Oh, fantastic. I got here right on time. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I was just racing down from Harvard University where I went to tour the place. My first time in Boston, and so my friend said, "Oh, I need to show you the town." I said, "Okay, fantastic." So unfortunately, it coincided with when I'm supposed to be on this call. So I'm so sorry for everything. Today is the only day I have to stay here. Tomorrow I leave, so that's why I had to make that. Yeah. So first of all, let me thank my boss. I see my boss here, Professor Beno Welling. Beno, you remember me?
I was just reading your message where you called me for the first time in your and my life, boss, my boss. So, and I told to Rita from Nigeria, I don't know why he's calling me boss. I'm not his boss.
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you so much, my friend Louis, for bringing me back here. And thank you, our president. I'm here to see her. I hope she's still with us, or she got angry with me.
She's here. Yeah, she's here.
Yeah, thank you so much. So yeah, thank you, Madam President. I'm sorry. I've been out and in, so but I'm having a good time here in your state, in your city. Fantastic. So just a quick one. Like you were saying, I come to you. Can I share my screen? Louis, are you sharing my screen?
Yes, you can share your screen, or I can share it. It's okay.
Share. Yeah, help me share it. Let me just because I've taken a lot of your time. I don't want to keep delaying. So I came as an advocate, for Mother Earth today. That's why I want to take this position today, because of what is happening around the world. Mother Earth is weeping, and we need to do something urgently to protect the environment, our planet. When I first talked about this, I told the people, the audience, I said, look, you can imagine, how you feel when you see your mother weeping, your own mother weeping. How does it make you feel? How does it make you feel to see your mother weeping? It's something, that none of us can stand, You can't stand that. So for me, that is what is going on today. From the heat waves that we see everywhere, from the in Nigeria, it's unbelievable. You can't think of it. I know most of you cannot come to Nigeria because of the weather. It's very hot, and in other places they have extreme cold. The earthquakes, the landmines, everything. So these are, how Mother Earth is expressing how it is feeling, and it's unfortunate that we're not taking serious. We're not doing much, to stop all of these environmental and climate change, that we suffer around the world. So, like I said, our planet is facing serious environmental crisis, rising temperatures, frequent heat waves, unprecedented wildfires and hurricanes. A lot of them are happening around us. I'm sure where you live, you have experienced some of them. So the causes of these are not far-fetched. All of us know industrial pollution, carbon emissions. If you come to Nigeria, in Niger Delta, for example, where you have Shell, Chevron, all the oil companies, most of those communities, people don't live there again because of oil spillage. They have polluted the whole place. They don't even drink. They are surrounded by water, but they don't have good water to drink. They don't have, good drinking water. But these are people surrounded by water, rivers. But unfortunately, they are polluted. They don't even have water to drink. So it's unfortunate. Then plastic pollution everywhere. So these are issues that are affecting the planet, but we are giving little attention to them. And so the impact, like I said, is you can see the impact on natural disasters, displacing communities, threats to food security, and all of that. The health risks due to pollution and disease outbreaks, and a whole lot of other things. So I'm sure you are scrolling the screen as I'm talking, because I just want to rush through it. So now the way out. So how do we halt this devastation? That we consciously and unconsciously or consciously are doing to the planet, to the environment. I think like I said here, the best way, or one of the ways out, is eco-innovation and sustainable development practices. So then reforestation. So there's an image on your side, or on this screen now, and I'm sure you're looking at it. So now this is the design that won my son a UN award, United Nations World Intellectual Property Organization Award. Is the national design competition in Nigeria. My son, at the age of 15, he signed up. He went for the national design competition on IP and sustainability and won. So if you look at the image you have there, you can see this is his own. He's envisioning what it means to the dream, Nigeria of his dream. Going by sustainable practices. So these are the things that he came up with. You can see windmill generating power. You can see solar panels and all of that, going green and all of these. EV vehicles, electronic vehicles, and everything that will help us save the planet. So that is this, to cut greenhouse gas emissions and waste. And then we also promote businesses that are eco-friendly, businesses that are, supporting the climate actions of the SDG and all of that at the Wumba Leadership Center. So now call to action. So like I said here, at the Wumba Leadership Center, where I am Executive Director, we support startups in different sectors of the economy. Now, but prominent amongst them, are climate action-related startups, those that are converting waste into products that are reusable, those that are also converting bio-waste into organic fertilizers, biofuels, those that are converting non-bio waste into interior decors, those that are turning plastic waste into, and okay, like this one, okay, good. This one is, this one converts water bottles, waste water bottle and the waste lithium batteries into solar lanterns that are distributed to students. That organization, his company, One Green Energies, he has got support from our organization. By the way, we incubated that company. They passed through our annual grant competition. And then after that, he got support from different other organizations. He went to African European Union Innovation Challenge in 2023 at Cape Town, South Africa, and won the overall in the circular economy category. Then this one, okay, that's the panels. They also build mini grids. They build mini grids, to provide power, to communities in the rural areas, markets in the rural areas, those that do not have access to electricity. Now, like I said before, this one, that's the Upcycle Architect. That's another startup that we supported. They convert non-bio waste, wood offcuts into beautiful interior decors. You can imagine this is from waste, non-bio waste, wood offcuts. Then this one is a table made from tires that were thrown away. They go pick them up and then turn them into beautiful items that you can use. Good. Then we have like this one. They do what do you call it again? They use bicycles for delivery, logistics, and all of that. Then here, this is this one turns that's scrap top. They turn bio waste, household waste, into beautiful and high crop yielding organic fertilizers that is being sought around the world. In 2022, this startup, the founder, she was a student when she came to our accelerator. She went to what do you call it? Okay, she went to not Italy, Denmark. Yes, she went to Denmark for the Feed the Future initiative of the US government and came overall second best. Overall second best. Do you know what? The overall winner is a professor, but this lady was a student when she went for that competition. She competed with other global leaders in the same sector and came second overall best. So that is how the impact that we are making, supporting, eco-friendly programs in Nigeria. So now I know because of time. So I want to tell you that the earth doesn't need us. We are the ones that need the earth. So that's why we don't just need to imagine a better world. We need to build it, make it green, smart, and then do that together, because this is the only place that we can live. For now, this is the only place. I'm sure the scientists have not gotten any other place where man can survive. This is the only place we can live. And the one we are doing our best to support some of these innovations, these initiatives, and any little step, any little action you can take will go a long way to save the planet. And that is the message I have for all of you this afternoon. Thank you so much for listening. God bless.
Thank you, Remy. Thank you so much. And again, you bring it down to things that we can do every day. And I think I said this, Loretta, last year or the year before, but I would love to hear next year when we do this, how you have collaborated together. How each one of you have taken, your projects and your dreams and your passions and put them together so that we can, kind of increase on a quantum level all the fabulous things that you are doing. So that's my challenge to all of you, to make that commitment to connect and share and build. And lastly, I think, Louis, you did a great job in just kind of pulling together. This is a holistic picture. We're looking at the mental, we're emotional, the physical, the spiritual, the entrepreneurship, the innovation, the equity, the inclusion. I mean, you've hit every single angle. And each one of us have a little spear of those that is our areas of expertise. But together, as Adriana, as a leader, you don't do it alone. It is a group, adventure. So let's make a commitment to adventure together. Do you want to say something, Adriana?
Yeah, I want to say that is, what you just said is the first thing that I share with everyone in every leadership class that I've ever given. And that is, you cannot do it alone, and I think that the whole concept that you heard me talk about it, and the whole title of this session, When Everyone Leads, is really based on this idea that we need to become much, much, much better into bringing people with us to do this leadership work. And I think this conference is a great opportunity. I am excited about what can result out of this.
Yes. And I'm going to make a plug for September for the event in Madrid, because we are looking for sponsors. Okay. Loretta has spearheaded this fabulous idea, coming into all kinds of political, emotional, global issues that are we're trying to navigate our way. So any support, financial, any groups that you can bring with you that you can ask to support us financially would be greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated. And I want to end with thanking you, Loretta, for your passion and your vision and your energy. And I did a podcast with Loretta about 2 years ago. It's on my YouTube channel, Under the Hood. And you will just cut just her background, her spirit, all the pieces that have made her into this beautiful person that she is. So thank you for your work. Yeah. And you get the last word, Loretta.
Once again, thank you so very much, everyone, for being with us. This is a journey that, again, you're right, you cannot do it alone. When we started out, I created it on LinkedIn, but it was a group of ladies that come together and go, you got a great idea. What can we do to move it forward? And ever since then, every year there's been someone that says, what can I do? What can I do? And it's because we're all on the same page. We all have that passion. I want to thank immensely Louis. Louis is my ride or die backbone to the bone, to the core. Louis, he and I, if we're not talking to each other every day, something's wrong. Something ain't right, because we're forever. I mean, we're constantly online, but he's such an instrumental person. I'm so excited he's president of this particular pillar. He has guided it, he has directed it, and he has made a very clear vision for it. So, Tina, I heard you, and I am with you. What I would love to see, Louis, is that we actually take these conversations, pull it together, and create an analytical approach to resolution in them. And perhaps that could be a conference all by itself that we could get together and bring forward. And we have the minds, we have the action, we have the passion. It's just that taking a little time. And I know we're all busy doing everything. Trust me. Today, my daughter's screening a film at this beautiful farm, and I'm running back and forth, but I'm here. So we're always multitasking. We love you. So, Tina, before you take the last words, I'm giving the floor to Louis. And thank you, everyone, so very, very much from the bottom of my very heart. I love you all, and thank you, thank you, thank you. Louis, the floor is yours.
Thanks again, Ms. Loretta, for your energy, your legendary energy, and thank you for the kudos. I mean, as I mentioned at the beginning of our summit, and we had a bit of a get together just with the speakers. I mean, WOCPSCN, and then most importantly, its values are my not-nots. The thing I can just not stop thinking about. And I think most people that are here and the alumni speakers can attest to that. It's just something that I feel deeply, I really deeply care about. And as for today, again, before giving the floor back to Tina, I really want to thank everyone involved and everyone that attended today for showing up, really. Like I mentioned in the beginning, you made the choice of showing up with intellect, yes, but most importantly with integrity. So bold questions, laughter as well, but with stories and discussions that left the room changed the way I see it. So and again, taking from the different conversations that were shared today, I think my takeaway, if I can call it that, is that legacy. Define your legacy. It's a big thing to kind of put as on top of the summit's name, but legacy for me, and hearing all our stories over the last 4 or 5 summits, legacy is not a momentum. Well, it's a momentum, but not a monumental. So it's a collective. The way I see it, it's a collective heartbeat. So I come back to the heart lines I mentioned in the beginning. So it's a collective heartbeat that basically says, we're here to design something better together. And that's again one of the common threads that I heard from everyone, whether it's the innovation topic, the education topic, the sustainability topic, SDGs as a whole, or community development. It's about collaboration, partnerships, working together for a better tomorrow. So as we step back into our respective corners of the world, so may we kind of think of the following: is that change is not the work of heroes, but of neighbors. So that would be one. The other one is that impact is not it's not just about big ideas, but it's about being brave and to constantly act, to action the things we're talking about. And the joy that I mentioned in the beginning is important, the not feeling that we keep talking about. Joy is not it's not a byproduct. It's a strategy. It's a sign that we're building something worth sustaining. So that's the way I see this movement, this collective, this collaboration, and this community move ahead and beyond with purpose. So again, thank you for your time. I'll leave the floor back to Tina. And let's connect. Let's keep in touch. Let's keep the conversation going. Thanks again.
And I'm just going to just hold the vision. That's it. Keep us going. Thank you all. Thank you for being with us and staying with us. And we have this all on video. So we'll be putting out parts of it, and you can have your talks and share them, and just keep the energy going. So thanks again. Have a great rest of the day, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Peace to you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Remy, we'll catch up.
Yeah. Thank you. Louis, thank you, man.